Chapter 26. Liemo could hardly restrain himself, he barely managed to stop himself, but his hands were still reluctantly caressing the smooth and soft skin under his hands. Liemo buried his head in 001's ear. His hot breath caused her neck to tremble slightly. In Liemo's eyes she was even more cute and charming. Liemo bit 001's translucent earlobe gently and said vaguely, "I'll take you out of here and go to where I live, okay?" This was obviously a meaningful hint. Not only his words, but Liemo's body and hands were also conveying this message to 001. Although Liemo really wanted 001, he didn't want to take her in such a place. Liemo is in heat again. Should I fulfill his wish? Don't you want to experience the taste of lust? This is a good opportunity. But I failed to break up again. Can our mission still be completed? 001 thought that since she was going to break up with Liemo, she probably couldn't continue to be with him, right? The rules on Earth seemed to be like this. However, Tutu's words carried a sense of decadence and despair. Could it be that you think that, do you think that your mission can still be successful? What? Error's words shocked 001. Even though Liemo was still hugging her. His hot body was pressed against her, but this could not stop 001's heart from turning cold. Mission failure? It was impossible. This was impossible for 001. It had never happened before. But now. Error made her have no choice but to face this cruel reality. You should give up. Liemo's various data shows that it's no longer possible for him and Sun Jiaoyang to be together. Since it was impossible for him to be with Sun Jiaoyang, in fact, it didn't matter if 001 and Liemo broke up. Because Liemo was with other people, it also destroyed the plot and didn't match the original world. Facing this head-on blow, 001 became muddle-headed. All he could see were the words, "Mission failed." This was a heavy blow to the undefeated general of planet Araga. Therefore, 001 couldn't even hear what Liemo was saying and let him do whatever he wanted. Then what should we do? It was rare for Yi to show her vulnerable side in front of Error. An admiral who was a few hundred years old was considered young on planet Araga, but he was ranked first year after year. This was extremely outstanding. She suddenly showed such a childish and confused side, which made Error's heart soften. It's okay. It's okay to fail. I'm just afraid that I'll keep failing and not be able to stand up. Failure was not shameful. How could a successful general not accept failure? That's the behavior of a coward. What's more, you're a novice when it comes to relationships. This is normal. Moreover, you're not on planet Araga. This is a completely unfamiliar Earth. You've even infinitely shrunk your body in power. Tutu comforted 001 with a few words, which made her feel better, although she was still very depressed. You also know that Liemo's various data has reached the limit. You can't continue anymore. Otherwise, if the males on Earth can't take it, it'll be terrible. You know that we can't deliberately hurt people on Earth. Then what happens if the mission fails? The purpose of the general is to let you come to Earth to experience the 7 emotions and 6 desires. The mission is incidental. However, you have to complete a mission before you can go to the next world. If you don't complete it, you won't be able to go. The loser can only stay in this world and live the rest of his life according to the life trajectory of the person who replaced him. While 001 and Error were talking, Liemo had already wrapped her in his coat and carried her out. After Liemo and Lin Wanting came out, Sun Jiaoyang followed them out. She still couldn't treat their matter calmly. Even though the toilet door was closed and Sun Jiaoyang couldn't see what was going on inside, she could still imagine what was going on when she recalled the scene at the beach. As long as she thought about the man she liked being intimate with another woman, her heart would hurt like it was being cut by a knife. However, Sun Jiaoyang didn't leave. She stood not far away and waited as if she was torturing herself. Fortunately, it didn't take long before Liemo came out with Lin Wanting in his arms. After seeing the situation of Liemo and Lin Wanting clearly, Sun Jiaoyang's heart sank. Liemo left in a hurry with Sun Jiaoyang in his arms. How could she not know what they were going to do now? Sun Jiaoyang couldn't help but want to follow them, but she didn't expect that she would be stopped by someone. Xianghua? What are you doing? Sun Jiaoyang was surprised to see Xianghua suddenly appear in front of her. Xianghua's face was gloomy. This was something she had never seen on her face before, but she didn't look good either. I told you not to go over there, so don't go over there. Why are you being so long-winded? Xianghua said to Sun Jiaoyang in a bad tone. Sun Jiaoyang had always been pampered since she was a child. How could she stand her tone? What do you mean? Are you standing on Lin Wanting's side to stop me? Sun Jiaoyang sneered and sneered, "Do you think I don't know who is behind this?" However, Xianghua didn't feel guilty at all. Instead, she looked even more terrible. "Anyway, I won't let you do anything." Xianghua's contradictory behavior made Sun Jiaoyang feel that she was ridiculous. However, because of her obstruction, Sun Jiaoyang had lost the initiative. She could only watch Liemo and Lin wanting leave. She knew what they were going to do, but she couldn't stop them at all. It was a terrible feeling. Sun Jiaoyang could only stare at Xianghua, unwilling to give up. However, Xianghua's expression was even more frightening than hers. She was gnashing her teeth in anger. She had enough of her own behavior. As for Limeau's house, he bought a house for himself after he had some spare money. Liemo was going to use it to hide a mistress. He wanted to move out of the school dormitory and live together with 001. However, he didn't expect that before he told 001, he had already come here with her to use it. Liemo couldn't help but feel lucky that he had made preparations in advance. The place was arranged according to 001's preferences. He had wanted to give her a surprise. However, this time, Liemo was really angry with 001. He didn't hide or suppress his desire for her at all. As soon as he entered the house, Liemo couldn't wait to start his journey. The figure on the big bed in the bedroom was moving up and down. The sound of moaning and panting was endless, and the ambiguous voice was getting louder and louder. From the door to the bedroom, clothes were scattered on the ground. The men's and women's clothes were intertwined, and the women's underwear and panties were hung randomly. Liemo gave full play to his desire for 001. This was also the first time that 001 had experienced the taste of human love and desire, which made her feel very novel and eager to learn. However, this made Liemo even more crazy for her. Although Liemo was angry, he wanted to teach 001 a good lesson. He wanted to use this way to occupy her fiercely, leave his mark and make her belong to him. However, in the end, Liemo still pitied 001. He understood that she was just going through a relationship, so he wanted to try his best to restrain his desire. However, 001's actions made Liemo unable to stop at all. As a general on planet Araga, how could the physical fitness of a male on the Earth be comparable to that of a male on the Earth? Therefore, in fact, no matter what Liemo did, 001 could cooperate very well and she was very energetic. However, this was not in line with the performance that an Earth female should have, so 001 could only try her best to suppress herself and try to show her discomfort. Therefore, although 001 was fine, in the end she still pretended to faint, which made Liemo stop reluctantly, and 001 also felt that it was not enough. This feeling was really good. If she stayed in this world for a few decades and often did this with Liemo, 001 would also feel good. Liemo carried 001 into the bathroom and washed her body. However, when he washed her lower body, it was impossible for 001 to be unconscious again, so she pretended to be woken up by Liemo's action. Liemo had calmed down at this time. After all, he had vented all his anger on 001. Liemo's cheeks were slightly red, and he did not dare to look at 001. Although he tried to control his voice, there was still a slight tremble. "I'm sorry." Liemo apologized to 001, "I didn't wear a condom." Liemo was so angry that he simply forgot about these things. This was his fault. It was not that Liemo did not want to have children with 001, but 001 was still too young, and Liemo did not want to hurt her body. Moreover, Liemo also felt that 001 might not be ready to be a mother at all. He could not be so selfish. But now, since it had already happened, Liemo could only use this method to get it out. 001 did not think as much as Liemo. After all, she was simple-minded. She just felt that Liemo's movements made her a little uncomfortable. Therefore, she moved her body uncomfortably, but this made Liemo's expression look more restrained, and sweat flowed down his cheeks. Liemo wanted to replace it with something else regardless, but he thought that he had just done it with Lin wanting so many times, so he had to control himself. Therefore, Liemo spent an extremely difficult and painful bath time, but it could not be denied that he was happy. Although it was impossible for him to really do it with her, just looking at 001 and releasing it in front of her made Liemo very excited, and it also added a different kind of fun. Chapter 27. Liemo put on the pajamas for 001. These were all things that he had prepared for her a long time ago. The size was also right. He didn't know how many times he had touched her body. He had kissed and caressed every inch of her skin. How could he not know? Liemo placed 001 under the blanket and covered her body. "Wanwan, don't even think about breaking up. Just wait for our wedding and our children in the future." Liamo reached out and gently caressed 001. His voice was also very gentle, but the content of his words was very strong and overbearing. 001 blinked her eyes sleepily, she yawned and replied softly. However, this made Liamo very excited. He leaned over and hugged her tightly. He almost choked with sobs in her ear and said, "Wan, I heard everything you promised. I heard what you promised. You're not allowed to go back on your word." 001 hugged Liamo back, she patted his back comfortingly, she responded to him again. This made Liamo hug 001 even harder. It was great, finally, everything was settled. Liamo restrained the surging emotions in his heart, he only lowered his head and gently kissed 001's forehead. He said softly, "Go to sleep." Then he watched 001 close her eyes and gradually fall asleep. Liamo looked at her for a long time before he got up and went to the bathroom. Even though Sun Jiaoyang knew that she had long lost the initiative, it was impossible for her and Liamo to be together. With Liamo's personality. If he did not really like Lin Wanting very much, how could he impulsively have sex with her? After all, when he was with her, she was the one who took the initiative to kiss him. There was no deep kiss at all. However, Sun Jiaoyang was still unwilling, so she asked 001 out to meet. Ever since she returned to China, the person she had always been with was Liamo. Sun Jiaoyang did not take 001 seriously at all. Because Sun Jiaoyang was a smart person, she wouldn't be like those stupid women who kept on going against women. She knew that the key to everything was the man's attitude. If Liamo liked her, even 10 Lin Wantings would be no match for her. However, in the end he still underestimated Lin Wanting. He didn't expect that she could control Liamo so tightly in the palm of her hand. Sun Jiaoyang didn't have a chance to meet 001, not only because she didn't want to, but also because Liamo protected her so tightly that she didn't have a chance to come into contact with 001. This time, Sun Jiaoyang invited 001 openly, and Liamo would naturally respect 001's decision. 001 felt that it was not a big deal to see Sun Jiaoyang. Moreover, it was true that she should have reunited with Liamo, but it was ruined by herself. In any case, 001 still hoped that this girl, who had a good ending in the original plot, could also live a good life in this world. Haha, are you very proud of yourself? Do you want to laugh at me, the loser? Sun Jiaoyang vented to Lin Wanting without scruples. She was not Liamo. She didn't need to maintain a good image in front of her, because Sun Jiaoyang thought that Lin Wanting must hate her very much. In high school she had a crush on Liamo, but Liamo was with her. Now she finally got what she wanted. How could she not be overjoyed? He must have felt sympathy for him, the loser, from a high position. 001 looked at her and sighed. For the weak females on Earth, they needed to be taken care of. 001 had a very high tolerance. Of course, if she wanted to harm her, 001 would not be soft-hearted to take her life. After all, she was a warrior with blood on her hands. Her existence was to protect others, but she was not afraid of killing. "No, I really wanted you to be with him," 001 said sincerely to Sun Jiaoyang. This made Sun Jiaoyang even angrier. She wanted 001 to stop being so hypocritical and disgusting. However, when Sun Jiaoyang looked into 001's clear and warm eyes, her heart was blocked. She couldn't say those hurtful words, and she didn't know why she felt so wrong that she wanted to cry. Sun Jiaoyang's eyes really turned red. She didn't want to show weakness in front of her rival in love. She should be arrogant and scold Lin Wanting. However, Sun Jiaoyang really couldn't bear it, so she cried and said to 001, "Don't be too proud. I won't give up. You should always be on guard against me taking back Liamo. Moreover, you only took advantage of me when I left. You are so hateful. I'm so stupid. I shouldn't have gone abroad. You have been eyeing Liamo covetously all the time. Hateful, hateful, hateful." In the end, Sun Jiaoyang was incoherently cursing 001. 001 let her vent and even handed her a tissue. This made Sun Jiaoyang even more stunned. She stopped crying and glared at 001 fiercely. However, her red eyes were not convincing at all. She looked a little pitiful. Seeing that she was choking from crying, 001 took the initiative to reach out and gently stroke her back. This finally made Sun Jiaoyang stop crying. She found that she really couldn't get angry with Lin Wanting. It seemed that no matter what she did, Lin Wanting would tolerate her like a willful child who was throwing a tantrum. When Sun Jiaoyang finally stopped crying, 001 took the initiative to reach out and hold her hand. This startled Sun Jiaoyang and she even forgot to struggle free. 001 looked at Sun Jiaoyang with his eyes full of care and said, "I know you are a good girl. You shouldn't become like this for me and Liamo." There's a wider world waiting for you outside, and you'll meet the one that belongs to you again. Sun Jiaoyang was so shocked by 001's words that she forgot to react for a moment. Then she seemed to feel 001's hand on her hand. She quickly broke free, but she couldn't help crying more loudly. 001 touched her head and let her vent as much as she wanted. It would be fine as long as she cried out. In the end, Sun Jiaoyang still went abroad, but this time, it wasn't because she was at odds with Liu Mo, nor was it because she was half coaxed and half cheated by her childhood friend. Rather, she really wanted to go out and broaden her horizons and enrich herself. Yes, she was beautiful and had a good family. How could no one like her? The outside world was so wonderful. She didn't want to waste her time and energy on the annoying Liu Mo and Lin Wanting. When she made a name for herself, she must come back and slap Liu Mo and Lin Wanting in the face. Liu Mo and 001 soon moved out. At the same time, Liu Mo's career was getting busier and busier. He was no longer limited to studying at school. However, 001's study was still the same as before. She was not in a hurry at all. But the relationship between her and Liu Mo made their classmates very envious. She and Liu Mo had become the legend of a loving couple in this university. Sometimes Liu Mo would go out for a few days and couldn't come back. He had to inspect the market with his partners and other things. 001 also had to study at school, so she couldn't go with him. Every time this happened, Liu Mo always missed her very much. Outside, Liu Mo would call 001 every night to listen to her voice. "What did you do today?" Liu Mo's low voice came through the phone and fell into 001's ear. It was particularly gentle and sexy, which made people's heart itch. At this time, 001 was lying on the big bed after taking a bath. As usual, she was chatting with Liu Mo on the phone. After being with Liu Mo, 001 became more and more casual in front of him, including the posture of lying on the big bed, which was not ladylike at all. But in front of her own people, she could do whatever she wanted to do. 001's ears moved slightly because of Liu Mo's voice. She always said what she wanted to say, so she rubbed her ears and said, "It's a pity that you are not in front of me. Otherwise, I really want to kiss you." 001's words made Liu Mo breathe quickly for a moment, but he soon chuckled happily. Through the phone, Liu Mo's laughter also passed his good mood to 001. "Baby, you really make me happy." When Liu Mo loved 001 very much, he would say such a love name to her. How could Liu Mo not want 001 to be right in front of him, and he wanted to rub her into his arms. 001 told Liu Mo what she had done that day bit by bit. This was a good habit cultivated by Liu Mo. Liu Mo wanted 001 to get used to him and couldn't do without him. Liu Mo was not impatient at all. He asked 001 carefully, almost asking her how many times she went to the toilet in a day. "Did you miss me?" This was the key point. Although Liu Mo asked very gently and made people feel warm, 001 knew that if she didn't answer well, there would be something she would like to see when Liu Mo came back. "Yes, I miss you every day. I know that. You are not here. I have nothing else to do but miss you," 001 said to Liu Mo very casually. This made Liu Mo's heart unable to extricate itself. She always unconsciously let Liu Mo sink more and more for her. Liu Mo couldn't help laughing in a low voice. His Wan was so cute. Liu Mo began to explain to 001 what had happened here in a soft voice. He would also tell her everything, including the night where he was at the moment. "There are no clouds in the sky, but there are many bright stars. When I look at them, I often think of your eyes. They are so beautiful that I can't help indulging in them when I look at them. If there is a chance next time, I want to take you here and hold you under the starry sky." Liu Mo's voice lingered in 001's ears, which was very moving. Even if 001 didn't have feelings at this moment, she was moved by the beautiful picture described by Liu Mo. Gradually, 001's long breathing sound came from the other end of the phone. Liu Mo knew that she had fallen asleep, and his words gradually stopped. Every night, 001 fell asleep in Liu Mo's gentle voice. Liu Mo accompanied her to sleep and listened to the sound of her falling asleep. Every time he felt very happy. "Good night," Liu Mo said softly on the other end of the phone. Then he kissed the phone gently as if he was kissing 001. "I love you, baby." Liu Mo went out for many days before he came back. When he came back, 001 was still asleep and didn't know it at all. If there was no aggressive human on Earth approaching, 001's defense system would not respond at all. Until 001 felt that her lips were blocked. She couldn't breathe at all. At the same time, a hand appeared in front of her, rubbing her lips vigorously. This woke 001 up and made her open her eyes. Unexpectedly, 001 saw that Liemo had returned. He was on top of 001, and her nightgown had been pushed up to her neck. Liemo was lying on top of 001. Liemo was very anxious. His other hand directly took off 001's underwear, and his teeth bit off the cover with difficulty. Liemo breathed quickly and said to 001, "Baby, I missed you so much. Let me go in first. I'll make you comfortable later." With that, Liemo opened the bedside table and took out the ointment from it. He was afraid that 001 would feel uncomfortable, so he had prepared everything. At this moment, Liemo just wanted to completely possess 001 and feel her. He was afraid that his foreplay was not enough to make her feel uncomfortable, so he prepared to use this thing. Although 001 was caught off guard by Liemo, it was not a shock for her, and she was ready to accept Liemo's enthusiasm. Liemo kissed 001's little mouth to comfort her. Good girl. Liemo and 001 fooled around for a while. Every night when he called 001 he was teased by her. In the end, after hanging up the phone, he went to take a cold shower alone. Liemo's body ached when he thought about 001. As soon as he got home he couldn't wait to have her. After Liemo's enthusiasm and longing gradually vented, he got up and tidied up the two of them. He sat on the bed with 001, hugging her and talking intimately. After Liemo and 001 lived together, he naturally lived a happy life with the beauty in his arms every night. It should be said that Liemo and 001 lived the life of a newlywed couple in advance. Their things were intertwined everywhere, and their lives were penetrated by each other. They were indeed very intimate. Wan, after graduation, let's get married. Liemo lowered his head and kissed 001's forehead. His eyes were full of tenderness as he watched her propose calmly. She responded calmly and hugged Liemo back, rubbing her head against his chest. However, the two of them skipped this matter and naturally began to talk about the trifles of daily life. Chapter 28. The body of a luxury car kept shaking violently, the doors and windows were tightly shut, but there were still ambiguous sounds leaking out. After an unknown period of time, the trembling of the car gradually stopped, and the window was also lowered. In an instant, an ambiguous smell wafted out, and the inside of the car was filled with the smell of sweat and lust. Liemo got up from 001. He tidied up his clothes, but 001 was still lying on the seat that had been lowered. Her clothes were scattered everywhere in the car, her underwear were casually hung on the seat. Liemo took out a tissue and carefully wiped 001 clean. He picked up the clothes one by one, he held 001 in his arms and gently helped her put on her clothes. Wan, are you really not going to work with me? Liemo sat intimately with 001 in his arms. He tucked her sweaty hair behind her ear, he lovingly kissed her flushed cheeks and asked. 001 glared at Liemo in annoyance, but after being fiercely loved by him, she only exuded an alluring charm. It made Liemo have a reaction from her gaze. I'm not going. 001 curled her lips and said, go to work by yourself. Lin Wanting was a secretary major. In the original world, she was also Liemo's secretary. But it was only the relationship between a boss and a subordinate, they didn't have any ambiguous relationship at all. But now, 001 was also Liemo's secretary, it was when they had just gotten married. Liemo, on the other hand, wanted to have unspoken rules with his secretary every day. 001's uniform was always taken off and put on by him, put on and taken off again. When they went to work this morning, Liemo even fooled around in the car, which made 001 have a little temper. However, this made Liemo feel pity for her. Wan was also very cute when she lost her temper. Therefore, Liemo pinched 001's nose intimately and kissed her red lips. Okay. I won't go. You can go buy some stuff. With that, Liemo handed over his salary card again and let 001 spend as much as he wanted. Liemo kissed 001's face again and again. Then he went to work while 001 went shopping. Coincidentally, it was Sun Jiaoyang who had returned from his studies and specially came to visit Liemo. Sun Jiaoyang was not like the last time she went abroad in a fit of pique. This time she was studying seriously abroad. Originally, President Sun, who had always doted on Sun Jiaoyang, only wanted to find a son-in-law to manage the company for him and take good care of Sun Jiaoyang. Now, he had tried to hand the heavy burden of the company to her. Sun Jiaoyang had long let go of her obsession when she was young. However, for some reason she still wanted to come and see how Liemo and Lin Wanting were doing. Liemo, long time no see. Now Sun Jiaoyang could already greet Liemo faintly. Liemo was also willing to forget those unpleasant things and treat Sun Jiaoyang calmly. However, before Liemo and Sun Jiaoyang, the former boyfriend and girlfriend, could catch up, Liemo's wife 001's video request came. Liemo apologized to Sun Jiaoyang. Naturally, he chose to answer it without hesitation. However, Liemo did not expect that the scene that came into view made his hand tremble and he almost dropped his phone. However, after Liemo quickly reacted, he covered his nose with one hand and covered the screen of the phone with the other. Sun Jiaoyang, she had never seen such a cold and embarrassed side of Liemo. In Sun Jiaoyang's heart, Liemo had always been that cold and beautiful young man who was like an ink painting. However, now Sun Jiaoyang seemed to feel that something in her heart had broken. Liemo apologized to Sun Jiaoyang again. Then he went into the lounge without hesitation and closed the door tightly. Sun Jiaoyang, seeing Liemo's expression, how could she not guess what Lin Wanting had sent him? It must be something indescribable. Sun Jiaoyang felt that she was really stupid to still pay attention to the two of them after so many years. She should have stayed away from them, so she shook her head and left. 001 really didn't mean it. How could she know that Sun Jiaoyang was here? But she had indeed interrupted him by accident, and in an indescribable way. When 001 was shopping, she was trying on a type of underwear, but she was a little hesitant. She couldn't tell whether it looked good on her or not. If Liemo accompanied her shopping, she could let him choose for her. But today Liemo was not here. It didn't matter. 001 cleverly sent a video to Liemo in the fitting room. She used the appearance of herself wearing the new underwear and asked Liemo to take a good look at it for her. Liemo. He almost had a nosebleed. At the same time, he was as worried as a thief, for fear that his wife would inadvertently be seen by others. However, 001 was still seriously asking Liemo for his opinion. She really didn't mean to seduce him. If she wanted to, she could just ask for it directly. Why did she have to do this? However, to Liemo, this was a rather impressive method of amusing himself. Therefore Liemo couldn't wait. He didn't go to work and directly rushed to 001's side. At this time he didn't care about Sun Jiaoyang. He didn't even know if she left or when she left. A man who could still sit still when his wife was in such a situation was either incompetent or really disgusted with her. After being married to Liemo for 10 years, 001 also had 2 children with him who could play with soy sauce. However, since they had children, Liemo and 001 were indeed different from before. After all, they had become parents. However, they still loved each other very much, especially when Liemo had specially sent the children to their grandparents for a few days, so that they could enjoy the world of the two of them that they hadn't seen in a long time. In the living room, Liemo stood in front of the sofa, and 001 was lying on it in disheveled clothes. She didn't even take off her clothes. She just took off her underwear, and Liemo couldn't wait to have sex with her. 001's clothes covered Liemo's big hands, and her skirt also covered Liemo's movements. Although they had 2 children and even the 7-year-itch had long passed, Liemo was still so obsessed with 001's body. Every time he touched 001, he was as eager as a young man as if he had met it for the first time. However, after a long period of married life, Liemo and 001's bodies became more and more in sync, so that they could enjoy this kind of thing more and more. After a round of sex on the sofa, Liemo kissed 001 gently and carried her upstairs. Only when the 2 little masters at home were not there could 001 and Liemo have sex like this. In the stairwell, in the bedroom, on the back of the door, on the floor, on the coffee table. 001 and Liemo went all the way to the bedroom. They used all the places that could be used, and they were as crazy and enthusiastic as young people. When Liemo and 001 finally calmed down, he sat in the bathtub with her in his arms and gently washed her body. Liemo lowered his head and kissed her, asking softly, "Baby, are you tired?" Liemo had single-handedly developed this body, and had also completely enlightened 001 about emotions and desires. Therefore, 001 was particularly calm in front of him when it came to emotions, which also made Liemo particularly excited. 001 played with the water with one hand and shook his head gently with the other. "I'm fine." 001 knew that at this time, men on the earth needed a woman's weakness to satisfy their sense of accomplishment. However, 001 was really not tired at all. On the contrary, she was physically and mentally comfortable. Perhaps 001 would have pretended in front of Liemo in the past, but now they were an old couple and 001 didn't want to do that. She could still say that because she was worried about Liemo's face. She was afraid that she would hurt him. Liemo didn't know whether he saw it or not. He lowered his head and chuckled behind 001, stroked her shoulder and gently kissed her snow-white neck. Chapter 29. 001 accompanied Liemo for the rest of his life. Anyway, the way the two of them got along had not changed even when they were old. In fact, love or not was no longer that important to Liemo. He was very happy to have 001 accompany him for the rest of his life. However, on his deathbed, Liemo still felt a little unreconciled. He seemed to have been deceived by 001 for the rest of his life. When he was young, he didn't know what was wrong with his eyes. He fell in love with her and was even loyal to her. Liemo held 001's hand tightly and glared at her. He gritted his teeth and said, "If there is a next life, I will definitely ignore you." After saying that, Liemo left. Of course he was too old, it could be considered a happy funeral. He was already in his 90s, but he was still full of energy. His descendants were a little puzzled by Liemo's last words. After all, in their eyes, the old couple was so tired of each other. It made the young people blush and their hearts beat uncontrollably. They only thought that it was a special interest between Liemo and 00. In any case, they had learned a lot over the years. They were old but not old at heart. They were much better at playing than them. 001 was not very sad. This was the natural law of life on Earth. Liemo was already considered old. It was the same for the creatures on planet Araga, it was just that they had a longer lifespan. 001 was very calm about these. Moreover, she had indeed accompanied Liemo for the rest of his life. 001 did not leave any regrets. After Liemo left, 001 would be able to move on to the next mission world to complete her mission. This time both 001 and Error had made up their minds. They could only succeed. They could not fail. The last time was considered a novice mission. Neither of them was familiar with the job. This time the person who did not want to do it in the world was Wenqing. She was just like her name. She was a typical girl on Earth who could be seen as a top student at a glance. Glasses, braided hair, clear soup noodles, and the class commissary in charge of studies. Unrequited love was another unrequited love. The boy who had a crush already had a girlfriend, but they broke up later. Fortunately, the girl this time was more awesome than Lin wanting in the previous world. After the guy she liked broke up with his girlfriend, she found the right time to confess and succeeded. In fact, the story this time was like this. The boy that Wenqing liked was called Xiaoyu. He was a straight-A student just like her. However, there were differences between top students. Wenqing was the unpopular four-eyed girl, but Xiaoyu was the most handsome guy in school. Not only was he handsome, gentle and courteous, he was also the main member of the school's swimming team and had a great figure. However, Xiaoyu, who was pursued by everyone, already had a girlfriend. Surprisingly, his girlfriend was the campus cheerleader, Fei Fei, who did not have a good reputation. Apart from her appearance, she was nothing in the eyes of others, and her grades were the lowest. The hormones of puberty were stirring, and their eyes unconsciously lingered on a beautiful girl like Fei Fei. However, Fei Fei's appearance was like a vixen to them. She looked like a restless vixen and would be despised. Although Wenqing was not likable, she was recognized as a good student. She and Fei Fei were two extremes. Fei Fei did not like to study and liked to play. In the eyes of others, Xiaoyu was like a flower stuck in a pile of cow dung. Xiaoyu and Fei Fei were not a good match for each other, but Xiaoyu did not care about other people's opinions at all. He was very good to his girlfriend. Later, Xiaoyu and Fei Fei broke up because of irreconcilable conflicts. She also transferred to another school and left. However, Xiaoyu still could not forget her, but he also wanted to get over it. Therefore, when Wenqing confessed to him, he told her his situation truthfully and said that he was willing to have a try with her to see if she was willing. Of course, Wenqing was willing. She plucked up a lot of courage to tell Xiaoyu her feelings, and she did not expect that she would really succeed. After dating Xiaoyu, she became his girlfriend. Xiaoyu was very good to her, considerate and meticulous. However, he did not have any intimate actions with her, and Wenqing knew that he did not forget Fei Fei. However, they gradually entered a good situation, and Xiaoyu was also trying to fall in love with her. Wenqing believed that one day she could occupy the whole heart of Xiaoyu. However, at this time Fei Fei came back. She came to get back together with Xiaoyu. She did not care about Wenqing, who had no face, no figure and was far worse than her. Excellent grades? Did men look at women based on their grades? Fei Fei was very sure that Xiaoyu would not forget his old love for her. Xiaoyu refused Fei Fei at the beginning, but Fei Fei began to pester him. Later, Xiaoyu also found that he could not forget Fei Fei at all, so he told Wenqing his feelings again. Xiaoyu was not Fei Fei. He was a person with principles, and he was also a so-called good person with integrity. He would not have anything with Fei Fei before his relationship with Wenqing ended. Since Fei Fei came back, he consciously kept a distance from her. However, he had tried hard, but he did not fall in love with Wenqing. He still had Fei Fei in his heart. Although Wenqing was sad, she still chose to let go and let Fei Fei and Xiaoyu be together. Wenqing did not blame anyone. Xiaoyu had always been honest with her, and he did not lie to her. Moreover, she had also tried hard, and she succeeded in becoming the boyfriend of the boy she liked. What's more, Xiaoyu had always been cooperating with her, and he had worked hard to fall in love with her. Wenqing was just sad. Even so, Xiaoyu still could not fall in love with her. Wenqing did not want to be like this anymore, so she left. Just like before, 001 would make up for Wenqing's share. At this time, 001 and Error did not dare to look down on this task anymore. They thought that it was very easy. After all, they had learned a bloody lesson in the last world. At this time, Xiaoyu has already broken up with Fei Fei, and it is the time when Wenqing is going to confess to him, Error explained to 001. So, now we just need to confess to Xiaoyu as before, right? That's right, and the original Wenqing succeeded very easily. But I don't know why, I always feel that it will not be so smooth. After hearing Error's words, 001 was also a little flustered. After all, 001 did not even blush in the face of the alien army, but she was really mentally and physically exhausted by this Earth task. No matter what, let's try it first. 001 took a deep breath and said. Anyway, she would not back down. The last thing 001 lacked was courage. Well, let's do it one by one. Let's do it today. Anyway, it's better to do it with Xiaoyu. Error, you are really getting better and better. You can understand such profound words on Earth. Of course, I am smarter than you. 001 nodded in agreement. Then I will stop Xiaoyu on his way. Therefore, after class, when Xiaoyu was about to go to the gym to practice swimming, he saw the class commissary in charge of studies rushing towards him. This caused Xiaoyu's heart to tremble. He carefully thought about it. His homework had been completed well, and he didn't owe her homework. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. 001 walked in front of Xiaoyu, reached out to stop him, and looked at him seriously. In fact, 001 didn't know that her appearance was really a little scary. Only Xiaoyu had a good demeanor and was able to smile politely at her. What's the matter? Wenqing. Xiaoyu was like his name, a gentleman like jade. His every move was with good breeding and gentleness. It was precisely because of this that others would feel sorry for Xiaoyu, thinking that he and Fei Fei's styles were really too different. However, things of the heart were like fish drinking water. Only one knew whether it was hot or cold. Xiaoyu didn't need others to intervene. However, Fei Fei couldn't do it. She felt very wronged and felt that she was very good. It was a blessing for Xiaoyu to be with her. How could others say that? Moreover, Fei Fei didn't like Xiaoyu to control her and preach to her, which annoyed her very much. Therefore, for various reasons, Fei Fei broke up with Xiaoyu. Although Xiaoyu was very good, Fei Fei had never been short of men's pursuit, so she was not so reluctant to leave Xiaoyu. 001 had a serious expression on his face. Coupled with Fang Qing's attire, he looked like a younger version of the head of teaching. Many boys passing by couldn't help shaking their bodies gently and whispering, "It's over." It seems that a new star of Meiji Shirtai has risen. The future of our male compatriots. Xiaoyu heard it, but he could still look as if nothing had happened. It was really good self-restraint. Of course, 001 didn't hear it at all, because she was thinking about her confession lines. Even if she heard it, she wouldn't understand what it meant. After all, Liemo spent his whole life not teaching 001 what feelings were. She was still ignorant. "Xiaoyu, I like you. Go out with me." "Xiaoyu." 001 said it with great momentum and cadence. It was rare for a girl to turn a confession into a posture of revenge, which was really impressive. However, 001 gave people the feeling that he was reciting lines, which made Xiaoyu speechless. He didn't know why 001 suddenly acted like this. He sighed and whispered to 001, "Sorry, I refuse." After that, Xiaoyu turned around and left. He felt that today's commissary in charge of studies was a little strange. 001. This was different from what they had agreed on. She failed at the beginning? Error? It's over. It's really not going well. Error, why did he refuse? He promised Wenqing. Although 001 warned herself before coming, she still didn't think that this task was difficult. This made Error silent for a while, and he tentatively said, "Probably he refused?" Although Wenqing's dress was old-fashioned and dull, she was still a beautiful girl. 001 used her own body to create her body data. Perhaps on planet Araga, Jiang Wenqing's level was pulled down even lower. 001 agreed with error with a heavy face. What should we do? Because Xiaoyu chose Fei Fei, the school's famous straw bag flower vase, everyone thought that he was a person who only looked at the face. After all, Fei Fei's beauty was also unique in this school. Therefore, it was incredible that Wenqing got together with him, although this was in line with people's expectations. At least Wenqing could pull him back to the right path and prevent him from being tempted by Fei Fei. According to the collected information, 001 and Error also came to the conclusion that Xiaoyu only cared about appearance. 001 thought that this was normal. Choosing a partner to pass on better genes to future generations, Wenqing did not have a big advantage in this aspect. Appearance is not enough now. If Wenqing can succeed, it means that Xiaoyu is not only looking at appearance. So, I want Xiaoyu to see what I'm capable of, right? 001 cheered up and asked. She didn't expect that she would be hit head-on at the first hurdle in this world. Her ambition was almost shattered. Even as a novice in the previous world, at least she was very successful at the beginning. Era was silent for a while. Although it felt something was wrong, it seemed that 001 was right. Well, it should be so. 001 directly ignored the uncertainty in Era's words. She took it as an affirmation and then firmly carried it out. The reason why Xiaoyu chose Wenqing was that he felt Wenqing's sincerity. A girl who loved him and had a good character was definitely a girl worth dating. Xiaoyu cherished it very much and was very grateful for Wenqing's love. He really wanted to go out for her. However, he didn't feel this from 001. He didn't even know why she confessed to him. Was it fun? The commissary in charge of studies didn't look like such a person. 001's so-called inner qualities were to write a love letter to Xiaoyu. Didn't people on the earth pursue their partners in this way? Of course, with 001's small brain and poor brain capacity, how could she come up with any romantic words? Of course, 001 couldn't do this kind of thing. It relied on error to search for information on the earth. I found it. It will definitely succeed. Believe me, the reason Xiaoyu rejected you last time was definitely because your confession wasn't good enough, Tutu said with certainty, looking eager to give it a try. Is that so? 001 was skeptical. However, she had always believed in error's judgment, so she was willing to give it a try. Therefore, 001 went to Xiaoyu's dormitory and placed a circle of heart-shaped candles, with two big words, Xiaoyu, written in the middle. It really took 001 a lot of effort to make it so exquisite. In fact, this was a physical work and ordinary girls couldn't do it. Of course, 001 didn't notice it at all. No girl would do this at all. This was simply a romantic confession made by a boy to a girl. I'm afraid that 001 was the only girl who had done it. This move was naturally very eye-catching. Soon she was surrounded by a circle of people. In particular, the two names on the ground were the school hunk, Xiaoyu. It wasn't that no one had confessed to him before. It should be said that there were a lot of girls. But they were all shyly blocking the road to confess, or secretly writing love letters. The only person who could cause such a huge commotion was 001. In particular, she used the classic trick of a boy chasing a girl. Wasn't this gender misplaced? No matter what their intentions were, in short, there were more and more people watching the fun. Xiaoyu, come down. Someone is looking for you downstairs. 001 shouted upstairs. After saying that, his mood became more and more subtle. After all, this kind of thing should be called for girls. However, the smile on his face was getting bigger and bigger. He also wanted to see what their school hunk would do in the face of such a suitor. When Xiaoyu heard this, he walked to the balcony door and poked his head out. After seeing the scene that 001 had made downstairs, he almost couldn't keep his usual gentle smile on his face. Xiaoyu's mind was blank for half a second. He was speechless for a moment before he found his voice. What is this? Xiaoyu muttered to himself. No one heard him, but it didn't take long for his roommates to come out of the concierge. Seeing this situation, they all looked like they were watching a good show. Xiaoyu, why are you still standing here? Don't let the study committee member wait for too long. That's right. The study committee member usually looks gentle and soft. I didn't expect her to be so fierce when she's chasing after a girl. Oh, hee, this is called exploding for love. Xiaoyu, you're a man. Why are you being so shy and reserved? Xiaoyu's roommates patted his shoulder, hooked his neck, and especially the uniform wretched smile on their faces. This experience really left a deep impression on Xiaoyu and was hard to forget. Xiaoyu didn't want to admit that at that moment he really had the idea of running away. Chapter 30. Xiaoyu felt his face stiffen. What kind of grudge? Did the study commissary really like his confession? Was he really not playing a prank to prank him? However, when Xiaoyu lowered his head, he happened to meet the expectant gaze of 001, who had raised his head. As soon as he saw him, 001's eyes lit up. His left eye wrote down and his right eye wrote accept. Xiaoyu. In the end, Xiaoyu walked down the stairs with difficulty. Step by step he walked in front of 001. Xiaoyu, I like you. Please date me. 001 held the heart-shaped candle in front of Xiaoyu. She said to him seriously. 001 was always so serious, as if she was carrying out a very serious task. Although this attitude made people have a good impression, however, he couldn't feel her sincere love for him. The people around them all cheered for 001. There were even many voices of agree to her, and agree to her. This really gave Xiaoyu a headache. A serious and devout, delicate and pretty girl. Her eyes were sincere as she stood in front of him. She held the candle in her hand and looked at him, pouring out her love. In the faint candlelight, Xiaoyu could even see the cute fluff on the girl's flawless skin. Such a beautiful scene. Undoubtedly it was very touching. Xiaoyu was no exception. However, he could not say that he was moved by 001's feelings, because she did not have any feelings at all. Xiaoyu was a bystander, so he only felt helpless. Wenqing, I'm sorry, I don't like you. Xiaoyu was even more direct than the last time he rejected her, because he did not want to be entangled for no reason anymore. This wasn't like the usual Xiaoyu. He would always save face for the girls. He would clearly reject them and not give them any illusions, but he would not hurt them too straightforwardly. However, Xiaoyu understood that 001 was different from the other girls who had confessed to him, so he had to treat her differently. Naturally, 001 would not be hurt by Xiaoyu's words, but her face still showed disappointment. Did he fail again? Why was it so difficult for her but easy for Wenqing? Oh, I see. 001 responded in a low voice, which made others feel a little sorry for him. But I will continue to work hard. 001 pulled himself together and looked at Xiaoyu with sparkling eyes. She even made a gesture of encouragement to Xiaoyu, which made Xiaoyu almost blacked out. The others couldn't help but smile when they saw 001's expression. Xiaoyu's roommates even looked at him teasingly. He's really charming. He's actually able to make a girl, a study commissary who usually conforms to the rules, act like this. He's really awesome. Their eyes clearly revealed such a message, which made Xiaoyu really bitter and speechless. It felt like he was the only sober person in a drunken crowd. Wenqing didn't mean it that way. She didn't confess because she liked him. Depressed, Xiaoyu watched 001 pack up her things and leave, but he had a very bad feeling in his heart. Since then, 001 had become famous and everyone knew that she liked Xiaoyu. Originally, although Wenqing was a study commissary with excellent academic performance, she usually only had a sense of existence when it came to her academic performance. But this time she, who was like a little invisible, became so high profile because of a boy, which shocked everyone. Sure enough, Xiaoyu's feeling was right. His quiet days were all broken by Wenqing. What kind of love letter is it today? Take it out and let us have a look. As soon as his roommates saw Xiaoyu come back, they couldn't wait to say. Recently they had really gotten addicted to watching Xiaoyu's show. Who asked 001 to not stop and create a show for them? Xiaoyu didn't pay attention to them. He couldn't do such a thing like spreading a girl's love letter everywhere. It was these bad friends who either peeped at it, took it out from the place where he put it, or snatched it from his hand. Xiaoyu also knew that they didn't have bad intentions and they wouldn't say it out. They just laughed among themselves, but it also made him feel very helpless. I can't participate in your past, but I will accompany you in your future. Xiaoyu's roommate made an exaggerated heart sign and read the sentence aloud. It was really disgusting. Oh, how touching. Today it's Master Yu's poem. What was it yesterday? The roommate pointed to another person and asked. Soon, someone followed up with a look of holding Shiyu's heart in his hands. Yesterday, it was Master Shen Songwen's. I knew you would come, so I waited. And the day before yesterday, maybe I was just a passerby in your life, but you won't meet a second me. The roommates discussed the love poem that 001 wrote to Xiaoyu, and the discussion was very heated. 001 wrote such a sentence to Xiaoyu every day, clipped it on a rose and put it in Xiaoyu's storage box. Xiaoyu was also very helpless, but his roommates had seen enough of a good show, and they teased him every day. Is she going to write a sentence to you every day? She really has perseverance and determination. I don't know how long she can persist. She pursued a boy to such an extent, and they also admired that she was a real man. 001 didn't remain anonymous. She was afraid that Xiaoyu didn't know that she was the one who did it, so she signed every sentence. Xiaoyu collected all these things together. He wanted to return them to 001 so that she wouldn't do it again. However, Xiaoyu had never found a suitable opportunity, because 001 was simply poisonous. Whether it was a chance encounter or a special visit, 001's mouth was a confession to Xiaoyu. 001 felt that the task in this world was completely opposite to that in the previous world. In the previous world, Lin wanting was a secret love, for fear that others would know that she liked Liemo. In this world, because 001 failed, she didn't become Xiaoyu's girlfriend, so she pursued him with great fanfare, for fear that others wouldn't know that she liked him. On the road, Xiaoyu could see 001 coming over with a large bouquet of roses, opening her mouth to recite Shakespeare to him. How can a woman be so demure to refuse you to take her virginity? How can a man be so stupid to cut off his bloodline and be willing to be his own grave? Xiaoyu? Xiaoyu's fair face turned red. Because of this poem, he almost didn't dare to look into the eyes of 001 and the people around him. What happened to being reserved? What had happened to the originally quiet and shy commissary in charge of studies? How could she suddenly become so unrestrained? The enthusiasm and boldness of foreigners didn't suit her. As a big boy, he felt uncomfortable, but she could still say it so calmly? It was precisely because of 001's behavior that Xiaoyu couldn't say what he wanted to say. He was defeated. He could almost be considered to have run away in defeat. When eating in the cafeteria, as soon as Xiaoyu finished eating, he saw 001 coming over with a plate. She looked at him with burning eyes and praised him while eating. "Your eyes are brighter than the stars, making me drown in them. Your lips are more beautiful than cherry blossoms, making me want to kiss them hard, Xiaoyu." He almost spat out a mouthful of rice. How could he still eat? In particular, Xiaoyu really couldn't stand the strange eyes of the people around them. He couldn't be as indifferent as 001. Speaking of this, in fact, Xiaoyu was very curious about how Wenqing could say those words with a calm face. Xiaoyu could only pick up the plate and leave. He had planned to make it clear to 001 the next time he saw her. However, every time 001 made a move, Xiaoyu couldn't resist and left, so he didn't have a chance to say those words. Even when Xiaoyu went to the toilet, 001 didn't let him go. She squatted at the door of the men's room. When other boys came out and saw her, they were shocked, but 001 didn't feel anything at all. The other boys all thought that Wenqing had gone crazy in order to chase Xiaoyu and had thrown caution to the wind. It was a little scary, but it also made other boys envious of Xiaoyu. After all, there was a girl who did this for them. As soon as Xiaoyu came out and saw 001, his face became very subtle and even his body stiffened. "You enter my dreams every day. I imagine touching your temperature, I want so much." Before 001 finished, Xiaoyu's cheeks turned red and she quickly left. If it weren't for the fact that Xiaoyu took his relationship seriously and didn't want to be casual, he would have agreed to 001, because it was really a terrible torture. 001's behavior was really shameless, but Xiaoyu was a gentleman. Xiaoyu was a good person and treated people gently, but he was not a saint. He also had his principles and his tolerance was limited. 001 didn't have any intention or aggression towards Xiaoyu, so Xiaoyu didn't pay much attention to her. However, it was also because of her inexplicable behavior that Xiaoyu didn't want to pester her anymore. Therefore, when Xiaoyu met 001 again, he spoke before she could speak. Otherwise, Xiaoyu had a hunch that if he let Wenqing speak, he would definitely not be able to say it this time. Xiaoyu didn't expect that one day he would be like this, and it seemed that he would cry bitterly. However, during this period of time, Wenqing was almost everywhere and Xiaoyu really had enough. "Wenqing, please stop. Your behavior has already caused me trouble," Xiaoyu said to her with a serious face. This made 001 stunned and he couldn't react. "Error, have we failed again?" "Yes, since Xiaoyu has made it clear that he doesn't like you, then you should naturally stop. Some men don't like to express themselves passionately. Maybe they like to be more reserved?" 001 thought that Xiaoyu liked cheerleaders like Fei Fei, and he liked to express himself passionately, but it seemed that their plan was wrong. Chapter 31. Since Xiaoyu doesn't like to be direct, then we'll take a subtle approach and fight in a roundabout way. Error's words made 001 have a flash of inspiration. "That's right, Error, this is the same as when we go to the battlefield to formulate tactics, right? We treat Xiaoyu as a territory that needs to be conquered. 001's words were greatly praised by Error. That's right, that's it. You've become smarter after staying on Earth for a long time. This made 001 regain some confidence, since he had adopted the unobvious pursuit methods on Earth. Thus, early the next morning, Xiaoyu went downstairs for class and saw 001 holding a hot breakfast in front of his dormitory. This is the Chin steamed bun shop opposite the school, your favorite mushroom stuffing. As he said this, 001 did not allow Xiaoyu to refuse. He stuffed the steamed bun and soy milk into his hand. Before he could react, he had already left. He left. Xiaoyu? Was he really too naive? How could he think that when Qing had given up? However, compared to the strong sense of existence that could not be ignored. But when Qing now came and went without a trace, which also gave Xiaoyu a headache. Coincidentally, his roommates came down one after another and saw this scene. They patted Xiaoyu's shoulder, looked at each other, and laughed wretchedly. This gave Xiaoyu a headache. He didn't even want to look at the eyes of the people behind him. Oh he. A breakfast of love. However, those people couldn't be ignored so easily. They teased Xiaoyu all the way to class. Xiaoyu naturally didn't want to accept 001's things without knowing why. However, it was too wasteful to throw it away. It was really a waste of God's gifts. Xiaoyu couldn't do such a thing. Xiaoyu could only eat it first and prepare to return the money to 001 later. Xiaoyu took an elective course, but there were too many people. It was basically difficult for him to sit down, so he could only stand at the back and listen. However, since he had 001, he didn't have to worry anymore, because every time, 001 would take the seat for him. As soon as Xiaoyu entered the classroom, 001 raised his hand and waved at him. Xiaoyu, over here. This time, everyone's eyes fell on Xiaoyu, looking back and forth between him and 001. The matter of 001 chasing Xiaoyu was a big deal, and some of them had heard about it. 001's actions made these people look at them even more ambiguously, making Xiaoyu almost want to cover her face and leave. However, 001 did not feel this at all. It continued to wave vigorously at Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu had no choice but to speed up and walk in front of 001. He couldn't let her continue to show off. What did you call me for? Even though he was speechless and depressed in front of 001, Xiaoyu still managed to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor. Here's a seat for you. Sit down. Then 001 packed up her things and left. Xiaoyu didn't even have time to call her. Xiaoyu sat in the seat that still had 001's body temperature. He was full of complicated feelings. What made Xiaoyu almost explode was that in the evening, when he was about to go to the water room to get water, he was told by the supervisor that a little girl wearing glasses had already helped him get it. The middle-aged man looked at him with a look of disdain mixed with envy. Xiaoyu, there were many girls who wore glasses, but Xiaoyu was sure that Wen Qing was the only one who would behave like this. Therefore she didn't give up at all but changed to another way. Moreover, didn't Wen Qing think that she had taken the wrong script? Men and women were reversed. These were all things that Xiaoyu had done for Fei Fei when she was with her. Moreover, Wen Qing was much more difficult to deal with than before. She was so slippery that Xiaoyu didn't have a chance to refuse at all. However, 001's big move still attracted the attention of the class supervisor. Of course, under normal circumstances they didn't care about dating. However, if someone who didn't like Wen Qing complained to the teacher, it would be another matter. Therefore, 001 was invited to the office for tea, and many people were gloating. Wen Qing, what's the matter with you and Xiaoyu? The class supervisor directly said to 001, some students have reported to me that your behavior has seriously affected their studies and lives. 001 and Error were both stunned. They didn't expect that such a big crime would fall on them. Teacher, I want to pursue Xiaoyu as my boyfriend. 001 was also very straightforward. I see. I will pay attention in the future. Given that 001's good attitude, the class supervisor let her go. Moreover, the little girl's behavior also reminded her of her youth. Therefore, before 001 went out, the class supervisor naughtily winked at her and said, come on, it's easy for a girl to pursue a boy. I believe in you. The encouragement of the class supervisor made 001 feel full of strength now, so she took a deep breath and nodded heavily to her. Well, I really know. I will work hard. It was an inspiring scene. The teacher encouraged the student, but the teacher and the student were both very improper. Xiaoyu also knew that 001 was invited to tea by the class supervisor. It had nothing to do with him and it was not his responsibility. It was all 001's own business, and she should be responsible for her own behavior. However, Xiaoyu felt inexplicably guilty and worried, so he unconsciously walked to the office and lingered there. When 001 came out, Xiaoyu suddenly looked up, and there was a light in his eyes that he didn't even notice. Xiaoyu hesitated for a while, but he still walked towards 001 and frowned. "Are you all right?" There was concern and worry in Xiaoyu's tone. If a girl really loved him, she would have been ecstatic. However, 001 didn't feel anything. Hearing Xiaoyu's words, she wondered, "What's the matter?" Sorry I was delayed for a while. There should be a lot of people in the kitchen." 001 said to Xiaoyu unconsciously, which made Xiaoyu not know what expression he should put on. He only felt that all his worries had been fed to the dogs, and he was really stupid to worry about him. Xiaoyu said nothing to 001 and turned to leave. However, there was occasionally a flash of doubt in his heart. Wen Qing's family was ordinary. Where did she get the money, Tiansong rose and other different kinds of flowers? This made Xiaoyu inexplicably worried. Even if it was not caused by him, he didn't want someone to do something bad because of him. When Xiaoyu went to the flower shop to buy flowers, he met 001 who was doing a part-time job. Through the pursuit of Xiaoyu, 001 fully understood the importance of money. It was impossible to pursue someone without the support of money. In her previous life, Lin Wanting was not born in a rich and noble family, but his family was also well off. Later, after 001 married Liemo, she never needed to worry about money. But in this life, when Qing's family conditions were worse than Lin Wanting's, she could only say that she didn't need to worry about daily life, but she couldn't expect anything else. Even if 001 wanted to do something, it was impossible for her to have money at all. Fortunately, 001 found a part-time job in the flower shop, and she could buy flowers at a discount from the flower shop. 001 had the strongest imitation ability and data integration, so even if she had never worked in a flower shop, as long as she could find the information, it would not be a problem. On this day, 001 was looking after the shop, but she didn't expect that the customer she waited for was Xiaoyu. This made 001's eyes light up. A few days ago, she had been reading love poems in order to pursue someone. At this moment, when she saw Xiaoyu, she opened her mouth and wanted to say a sentence. Fortunately, after being reminded by error, 001 remembered that Xiaoyu didn't like it, so she reluctantly stopped. "Xiaoyu, you're here to buy flowers? If you need anything, I can recommend it for you." 001 was familiar with all kinds of flower language and functions, and the shop owner was also very satisfied with her work. Xiaoyu came to buy flowers for his mother, but he couldn't help but be stunned when he saw 001. Unlike her happiness, the word ill-fated relationship flashed in Xiaoyu's mind. However, Xiaoyu didn't show it on his face and still had a gentle smile. Xiaoyu was a boy who gave people a good impression. His handsome appearance and gentle temperament made people unconsciously stop for him. He calmed down his emotions and tried to act as if nothing had happened when facing 001. Although Xiaoyu felt that what 001 had done during this time was simply the greatest test of his gentlemanly demeanor. Xiaoyu briefly told 001 his requirements, and 001 wrapped the flowers for him. Xiaoyu looked at 001's skillful movements, and he guessed something slightly in his heart, which made him feel a little touched. "Okay, here you are." 001 handed the delicate flowers to Xiaoyu. Just as he was about to leave after paying the bill, he was stopped by a voice. This made Xiaoyu raise his head and look at her in confusion, and a bad feeling flashed in his heart unconsciously. "Xiaoyu, this is for you." 001 handed the platycodon flower in his hand to Xiaoyu. Sincere and unchanging love. Xiaoyu also understood the language of flowers. 001 looked at Xiaoyu with an indescribable expression. It started again. Xiaoyu couldn't help but want to close his eyes. He didn't know why the other party was so persistent. "Thank you, but I don't need it." Xiaoyu refused 001 again, although he felt that the other party didn't seem to understand. 001 was not disappointed. She looked at him with bright eyes and asked, "What do you like? I'll give it to you." This made Xiaoyu sigh helplessly. "I don't need you to give me anything I like. I won't accept it." Xiaoyu's words were so clear, which was even a little embarrassing for the girl, but 001 didn't feel it at all. 001 sighed and clenched her fist. "I see. I will try my best to let you accept my gift." Chapter 32. Xiaoyu. What else could he say? It seemed that no matter what he said, it would be like playing the lute to a cow. Xiaoyu felt extremely helpless, like 001, who stubbornly approached him with unknown intentions and even did something that troubled him. He should be extremely disgusted. Although Xiaoyu had always been kind to people and rarely felt disgusted with them. However, Xiaoyu was also a principled person. Being a gentleman to girls did not mean that he was weak or had tender feelings for them. However, Xiaoyu was very sharp. He could tell that 001 did not really like him. He could also see the other party's pure heart. Her eyes were so clean and clear as water, they did not carry any ugly desires or thoughts. It was like a child making trouble for no reason. Instead of treating 001 as a woman with ulterior motives, Xiaoyu naturally treated the two in a different way. Xiaoyu even had the thought of giving up on herself. As long as she was happy, she would naturally ignore her. However, 001 really did not see through Xiaoyu's thoughts at all. It really made people feel helpless. And when Xiaoyu was practicing swimming in the swimming pool, he actually had a leg cramp. At that moment, Xiaoyu wondered if he had been so angry with Wenqing recently that he had become muddle-headed. Moreover, he was a strong swimmer. If he died because of a leg cramp while swimming, it would really make people laugh their heads off. However, even so, Xiaoyu still could not control his body. It was also getting more and more dangerous. Until there was a splash. Someone jumped down and swam towards him. This made Xiaoyu so relieved that he fainted. 001 was informed by the error that the mission target's life was in danger, so she immediately rushed over. She could still feel this. 001 carried Xiaoyu to the swimming pool and put him on the ground. This is the information I searched for about artificial respiration for you. Do it for Xiaoyu. 001 immediately collected the data and did it for Xiaoyu. 001's ability to learn and imitate was very strong, so even if it was her first time, she did it very well. Xiaoyu soon felt something. He felt the soft and moist touch on his lips. This caused Xiaoyu to open her eyes in shock. Xiaoyu saw 001, who had already taken off his glasses. This was the first time he had seen Wenqing's face without glasses. Without her glasses, Wenqing's face looked even more delicate and childish, but her eyes were really beautiful, dark and moist. However, this was not the main point. The main point was that her lips were touching his. Of course, Xiaoyu realized that she was performing artificial respiration on herself. This was a normal medical measure. However, if it was done by a pretty girl, it would inevitably make one's heart flutter. If an uncle did this, he would probably be traumatized. Xiaoyu had just opened his eyes and woken up. He did not have much strength in his body. Therefore, what came into view was 001's focused expression with her eyes closed. In fact, it made Xiaoyu's heart tremble for a moment. Her body was close to his, and he could feel the softness of her body. As he could see, Wenqing's figure was not very good among girls. However, the touch that was different from that of a boy and the fragrance on her body were still constantly eroding Xiaoyu. 001's breath sprayed on Xiaoyu's skin. It was a little itchy, as if it made his heart feel strange. Looking at 001's face at such a close distance, Xiaoyu sighed that her skin was even better than before. Until 001 felt that Xiaoyu was almost well, she left him, which made Xiaoyu feel lost for a moment. "Xiaoyu, are you okay?" 001 helped Xiaoyu up from the ground. She reached out and patted him gently on the back, letting Xiaoyu spit out all the water he was choking. After coughing for a while, Xiaoyu felt much better. He pushed away 001's hand that was holding him. "I'm much better. Thank you." After all, Wenqing saved his life. No matter how speechless he was before, Xiaoyu's gratitude at this moment was sincere. "You're welcome. If you agree to be my girlfriend, that's all," 001 said very naturally. "Xiaoyu?" After a short silence, Xiaoyu suddenly raised his head and said, "Are you serious?" Originally, 001 said it casually, but when Xiaoyu asked her like this, she suddenly became quick-witted and said, "Yes. You should repay me with your body for saving my life, right?" 001 said to Xiaoyu seriously. At the same time, she couldn't help but praise herself secretly. Fortunately, she remembered such a difficult sentence on earth. Xiaoyu had just recovered, but at this time he couldn't help coughing heavily. "Wenqing, you have to know that a good girl shouldn't be forced to repay kindness," Xiaoyu also said to 001 seriously. "Moreover, feelings can't be forced, let alone treated as a child's play." With that, Xiaoyu's expression became more and more serious. It was because he took feelings seriously that Xiaoyu couldn't tolerate 001's approach and attitude. "Yes, I know," 001 replied with a straight face. "If I take feelings seriously and work harder to be good to you, will you let me be your girlfriend?" 001 asked Xiaoyu expectantly. "Xiaoyu, That subtle feeling of reversal of men and women came again. 001 looked like a boy who was struggling to pursue his beloved girl. In order to get her consent, he would say all kinds of sweet words. Although this was different from what Xiaoyu originally expected, 001 always made him feel a kind of feeling of not knowing whether to laugh or cry. But this was not necessarily bad. It might be another way for him to get out. Therefore, after contemplating, Xiaoyu said to 001, "Do you really want to be my girlfriend?" 001 nodded heavily. Xiaoyu also said very simply, "Well, as long as you are willing." Xiaoyu told 001 his purpose and situation truthfully. Of course, 001 agreed without hesitation. In this way, Xiaoyu and 001 became a new boyfriend and girlfriend. Xiaoyu was also willing to try to date 001. 001 helped Xiaoyu up from the ground and held his shoulder all the way to the dormitory. In fact, with 001's strength, it was easy to carry Xiaoyu over. But 001 also knew where the limit of Wenqing's strength was, so it could not do that. However, Xiaoyu looked down at 001 in his arm. At this time he found that her body was really petite. Xiaoyu was more than 1.8 meters tall. He was really tall and handsome. Wherever he went, he was a beautiful scenery. His previous girlfriend, Fei Fei, was the same. She was gorgeous, curvy, and had long legs. Wenqing was estimated to be in her early 160 centimeters tall. Before, Xiaoyu completely ignored her because of 001's character. Perhaps it was because she had become his girlfriend, although the way she did it was a little funny. However, Xiaoyu had always been serious about love. Since she had become his girlfriend, his attitude and way of treating her were naturally different. Looking at 001's wet hair sticking to his cheek, Xiaoyu reached out and gently pulled it behind his ear. This made 001 look up at him in surprise. He didn't know when 001 had put on that pair of glasses again. This made Xiaoyu feel a little regretful. In fact, he liked her eyes very much. Xiaoyu felt that the reason why he could tolerate 001's nonsense before was because of those clean and clear eyes. Xiaoyu smiled gently at 001. This was not etiquette, but even his eyes had that kind of softness. Even 001 felt the obvious change in Xiaoyu's attitude. Of course, 001 didn't feel flattered at all. She was also very calm and composed. This caused the smile in Xiaoyu's eyes to deepen. He asked with concern, "Are you tired? Do you want to put me down and have a rest?" Xiaoyu considered the physical strength of an ordinary girl like Wenqing. She had just gone into the water to save him, and now she had to support a big boy all the way for such a long time. 001 shook her head and said, "Fortunately, your body can't get cold now. You should take a hot bath and lie in bed to rest." The idea that human beings were fragile was deeply rooted in 001's heart. Xiaoyu undoubtedly deepened 001's understanding of this. If she didn't pay attention, his life would be in danger. In the future, she was afraid that she would pay attention to him all the time. 001 searched for ways to deal with drowning on the earth. She felt that Xiaoyu's body should take a good rest. 001's words warmed Xiaoyu's heart, and the way he looked at 001 became more gentle. "Don't you really need to rest?" Xiaoyu wanted to support his body as much as possible to reduce the burden of 001. 001 looked straight ahead and said without hesitation, "Your body is important." Xiaoyu also felt that it was funny and helpless. She was always so sincere that it touched people even though she looked strange. Xiaoyu didn't say anything more, but the atmosphere around him became more gentle. When Xiaoyu was sent downstairs, it was not convenient for 001 to enter the male dormitory, although she didn't care at all. At this time, 001 remembered that a girlfriend should pay attention to her image in front of her boyfriend, although she didn't know if it was too late to save him. 001 was worried and carefully told Xiaoyu many things to pay attention to, like an old worried mother. Xiaoyu was not impatient at all. He kept nodding and listening with a smile. Although this kind of thing was usually told by a worried boyfriend to his girlfriend. However, 001 had always put herself in the role of taking care of others. And she also promised Xiaoyu that in order to become his girlfriend, she would work hard. Before 001 left, she seemed to think of something. "By the way, this is what a girlfriend must do." After Xiaoyu reacted, 001 walked up to him, stood on tiptoe and kissed him gently on the cheek. Then she turned and left. Xiaoyu was really stunned for a moment, and then he touched his cheek where 001 had kissed. Xiaoyu suddenly lowered his head and couldn't help laughing, which made his roommate who came down to pick him up think that his brain had been soaked in water. After 001 went back, she began to collect information seriously. She always did what she said. She didn't lie to Xiaoyu. She said that she would be better to him after becoming his girlfriend, and she would do it. Therefore, 001 began to prepare a lunch of love for her boyfriend. 001 had always been good at doing other things. She thought cooking was very simple for her. At least, 001 was indeed very delicate and beautiful. Then she wrapped it and went to deliver food to Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was lying in bed and resting, but others could come to visit him. When Xiaoyu heard that 001 had come to visit him, his eyes were unconsciously full of smiles. They had just separated and she came so soon? Seeing the lunchbox in 001's hand, Xiaoyu's smile in his eyes was more intense. Ching Ching, you're here again so soon. Are you here to deliver food to me? Xiaoyu's soft voice with his unique gentleness made people's hearts itch. Seeing Xiaoyu's appearance, 001 couldn't help but feel moved, and then her actions became more gentle. She nodded to Xiaoyu and softened her movements. From 001's body language, Xiaoyu felt a little funny and moved. It seemed that she always gave him this feeling. I made it myself. Have a taste. 001 untied the lunchbox and handed it to Xiaoyu. After hearing 001's words, Xiaoyu looked at her in surprise. Nowadays, most of the girls didn't do housework. They were very spoiled. There were very few who had cooking skills and were willing to cook. Xiaoyu felt that 001's kindness was precious and worth cherishing. No matter whether it was delicious or not, he should give her face and finish it. Seeing the expectation in 001's eyes, the smile on his face became wider and he said softly, okay. When Xiaoyu was about to take the chopsticks, 001 had already sent the food to his mouth. This made Xiaoyu stunned. What was she doing? Was she going to feed herself? Xiaoyu suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. He had always been able to deal with everything with ease. Even if his ex-girlfriend broke up with him and he was very sad and painful, he still had a good demeanor. This was also what Fei Fei hated. She knew that he was sad and she could feel it clearly. But Xiaoyu would never lose his composure for her. If he was hysterical and lost his demeanor, she might stay for him. Xiaoyu thought that 001's action didn't seem to be too much. If a boyfriend and a girlfriend refused this kind of intimacy, what was the point? But in the end, Xiaoyu still felt embarrassed and his ears were a little red. But Xiaoyu tried his best to ignore this kind of uneasiness. He pretended to be calm and bowed his head to eat all the food in the spoon in 001's hand. Then there was no then. Xiaoyu couldn't think so much at all because he fell down. This shocked 001. Xiaoyu actually fainted and she quickly sent him to the hospital. Xiaoyu was lying on the big bed in the hospital and his face was lifeless. He didn't expect that the legendary dark cuisine that could poison people to death was actually true. He was probably the first person in history to go to the hospital after eating a bite of his girlfriend's love lunch. Xiaoyu couldn't help but want to cover his face. Why did he agree to be Wenqing's girlfriend at that time? Was he really out of his mind and the cramp in his leg had transferred to his brain? 001 was also greatly shocked, and she couldn't accept this fact at all. It was obvious that it was very easy to make, and she also strictly followed the instructions without making any mistakes. But why did the taste become like this? In the previous world, Lin Wanting was a delicate girl who did not do housework. She was a gentle lady with a strong scholarly aura, and she would never be stained with the smell of cooking oil in the kitchen. Therefore, in the previous world, 001 had never cooked at all, but Liemo specially learned a few skills for her, and occasionally cooked for her at home. Usually they would go to their parents' place to eat or go out to eat, or hire hourly workers to cook. In this world, 001 was rarely so excited, but she didn't expect to encounter a Waterloo. Could it be that the ingredients on Earth, after passing through the hands of the people on planet Araga, had some kind of mutation? In short, Xiaoyu looked at his girlfriend sitting next to him with a blank face, and he secretly made up his mind that he would never let her touch the things in the kitchen in the future. Not to mention that he wanted to live a few more years, even if it was to save his stomach. It was obvious that he was lying on the big bed sick, but why did Wenqing look like she was more shocked than him? Looking at 001 who was sitting next to him and hadn't come back to his senses, Xiaoyu suddenly wanted to laugh. That's right, probably normal people can't accept that the food they made turned out to have a poison effect. Xiaoyu felt that he was Wenqing's boyfriend. Although he was also a victim, he couldn't be so unkind to laugh out loud. Moreover, as her boyfriend, he should comfort her. Chapter 33. Although this thought might be a little scary compared to what had happened before, however, the plot of a hero saving a beauty was actually very touching for both men and women. That was why he was confused and dated Wenqing for a while. However, no matter how strong Xiaoyu felt at this time, Wenqing was his girlfriend. She was the girlfriend he had chosen. No matter how much bitterness he had, he should swallow it and treat her well. Xiaoyu couldn't help but reach out and gently caress 001's head. This finally brought her back to her senses. 001's clear eyes were full of confusion at this time. Even Xiaoyu could see some grievances on her face. Wenqing's emotions had always been very easy to understand, even though she had never played her cards according to common sense. Xiaoyu held back with difficulty and told himself not to laugh at his girlfriend. "It's okay, I'll cook for you in the future." Suddenly, these gentle words came out of Xiaoyu's mouth. After saying it, Xiaoyu himself was also stunned, but when he thought about it carefully, he felt that it made sense. Cooking or something for his own good, it was better for him to do it. Anyway, his girlfriend also needed to be doted on, so it was better not to let Wenqing cook anymore. Xiaoyu's words also stunned 001. She didn't react. She said to Xiaoyu, "But, I said that I would treat you well." 001 thought that this was what she should do. How could she let Xiaoyu do it? 001's words made Xiaoyu stunned again. How could he let Xiaoyu do it? His expression also became subtle uncontrollably. Xiaoyu still didn't know why Wenqing did such a thing because she didn't like it. But to say that she had other motives, Xiaoyu felt that this word was too much to describe her. However, Wenqing was really trying her best to be good to him, which made Xiaoyu's feelings very complicated. Wenqing always made him feel funny, but he couldn't help but feel touched. Xiaoyu took a deep look at 001. Her lips curled up slightly, revealing a gentle smile. He said softly to 001, "I can't let you do it alone. Feelings are mutual. I should also treat you well." Anyway, 001 didn't understand these things. Since Xiaoyu said so, then he would do it. Since Xiaoyu wants to cook, I will let him do it. There was nothing to argue about. Besides this, it wasn't like she couldn't treat him well in other areas. After figuring it out, 001 looked at Xiaoyu with sparkling eyes, but it made his heart skip a beat. 001's expression was too easy to understand. Her whole body was filled with the words, "As long as you're happy," to Xiaoyu. This was like a helpless boyfriend doting on his unreasonable girlfriend. Xiaoyu, who was being harassed by his unreasonable girlfriend, was speechless. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and told himself not to take it too seriously. Anyway, before he dated Wenqing, he already knew what kind of person she was, didn't he? It was better to adjust and teach her slowly. Thinking of flirting and teaching his girlfriend, Xiaoyu's blood suddenly boiled. Maybe there was a kind of nurturing plot, whether it was a man or a woman. Otherwise, Xiaoyu had to be glad that his body was good enough. He was afraid that he would really be driven to death by Wenqing. Xiaoyu was discharged from the hospital after a few days of rest. Of course, the real reason for his hospitalization was covered up. Xiaoyu didn't want to be surrounded by his roommates at all. Therefore, it was said that Xiaoyu almost drowned in the swimming pool last time, and his body hadn't recovered yet. After analyzing some of the deeds and information on the earth, 001 felt that Xiaoyu was really a good person because he protected Wenqing's reputation. Moreover, 001 also came to the conclusion that what Xiaoyu did was what a good boyfriend should do, and he should learn from him. Although they were still in the period of getting used to each other, 001 and Xiaoyu were brave enough to try. Since they had become a couple, they should do all the things that a couple should do. For example, the most ordinary date, eating and watching a movie on the weekend, 001 and Xiaoyu would do it together. When Xiaoyu arrived at the cinema, 001 had already lined up to buy popcorn and drinks and was waiting for him. This was what a boyfriend should do. There was nothing wrong with it except that the gender was wrong. "Xiaoyu?" He took the things in 001's hands with an indescribable expression. Several men next to him looked at Xiaoyu with disgust, but the girls only looked at him with contempt. Xiaoyu glanced at 001 with a straight face. Well, Wenqing didn't seem to notice anything at all. 001 looked at the other people around, and then she also learned from the other girls. She put her hand in Xiaoyu's arm and took him into the cinema. Xiaoyu looked down at the little hand in his arm and couldn't help but sigh helplessly. "Forget it, I'll talk to her later." Although at this moment Xiaoyu felt like he had dug a hole and buried himself in it, he still felt like he had dug a hole to bury himself. Because at that time, he didn't know why he agreed to the condition that Wenqing should treat him well and let her be his girlfriend. She was now seriously fulfilling what he had promised. There was nothing wrong with it. It was him who had a problem. Xiaoyu didn't need to tell Wenqing about it. He could already imagine the other party's reaction. This made Xiaoyu stunned, and then he couldn't help but laugh in a low voice. He didn't expect that he knew Wenqing so well now. What made Xiaoyu feel even more terrible was that when he thought of her, he actually felt that she was quite scary. Although there was a saying that beauty was in the eye of the beholder, Xiaoyu felt that it was not only absurd but also scary to use this saying on himself and Wenqing. Xiaoyu shook his head and immersed himself in the plot of the movie, not thinking about these trivial things. Since Wenqing confessed to him, his life was always troubled by some inexplicable things, which made him no longer have the time to think about his ex-girlfriend and sadness. To some extent, Wenqing had helped him get out of it. 001 was sitting next to Xiaoyu. She was seriously drinking Coke and eating popcorn while staring at the big screen. 001 was curious about everything on the earth and was willing to try it, although she had done this kind of thing with Liemo. But it was different from the entertainment on planet Araga. 001 was still very interested in it. 001 suddenly thought of what she and Liemo did when watching the movie. They were also a couple just like her and Xiaoyu. This made 001 come back to her senses from the movie. She looked around at the people watching the movie. Sure enough, with 001's eyesight, she could see clearly even in dark corners. Because many people were not watching the movie at all. Most of them were young couples and they couldn't help kissing each other. Thinking of this, 001's eyes fell on Xiaoyu's lips and stared at him. The shape of Xiaoyu's lips was very beautiful, and the color of his lips was very light, as if even here revealed a kind of elegance. Xiaoyu was originally immersed in the plot of the movie, but she couldn't ignore the burning eyes of 001 next to her. "What's wrong with you?" Xiaoyu turned her head and asked doubtfully. However, 001 looked straight at Xiaoyu's lips and asked, "Do you want to try?" 001 pointed to the people around them wanting to say something but stopped on second thought. Xiaoyu looked in the direction he was pointing and saw a couple kissing passionately. "Xiaoyu?" Cough cough cough. He almost vomited the popcorn and Coke he had just eaten. Wenqing's appearance was too sudden. He didn't expect Wenqing to be like this. Although Xiaoyu had long known that Wenqing was not a rigid nerd, nor was she as quiet and shy as others had thought before. Although Wenqing was still dressed like a standard good student with a pair of lousy glasses and a double braid, she was still dressed like a good student. Especially when she was standing next to Xiaoyu, the scene didn't match at all. At least from the outside it seemed that Xiaoyu, the flower, was inserted into 001, the cow dung. This made other people who knew Xiaoyu and 001, a couple, couldn't help but think, do boys look at their girlfriends these days? Do they look at their inner qualities? Those who knew about Xiaoyu and Fei Fei were also muttering in their hearts. Was it because of his ex-girlfriend that Xiaoyu learned his lesson and no longer looked at others' faces? But wouldn't he be overreacting? In today's society, there were many girls who were both beautiful and talented. Wenqing's appearance was originally not as good as others, but she didn't know how to dress up. Xiaoyu didn't object, which in 001's opinion was acquiescence. Thinking of the things that she had done with Liemo before, she actually liked and looked forward to it very much, so she took the initiative in this regard. 001 directly reached out and grabbed Xiaoyu's collar, and was about to kiss him. 001 was so aggressive that Xiaoyu couldn't stop her at all. Then tragedy happened again. Of course it was still on Xiaoyu's body. 001 was so eager that she forgot that she was wearing a pair of glasses on the bridge of her nose. As a result, not only did she not manage to kiss Xiaoyu, she even pretended to bleed from his nose. Xiaoyu, why did she have so many difficulties when she had a girlfriend? She was simply using her life to date Wenqing. 001 was also stunned. The men on Earth were so fragile. She should have taken good care of them. In the previous world, 001 felt that she was very good to Liemo, but what was going on in this world? Why was she always hurting Xiaoyu? 001 couldn't tolerate this, and she also felt very guilty to Xiaoyu, although she didn't understand this kind of emotion. Xiaoyu covered his nose, but there was still blood flowing from between his fingers. 001 hurriedly took a tissue to help stop the bleeding. Naturally, they couldn't watch the movie anymore. With great difficulty, the two of them dealt with the accident in a hurry. Xiaoyu and 001's mood was very complicated. Especially Xiaoyu, he didn't know what expression to use to face his new girlfriend. He was probably the first person in history to cause him to bleed just because his girlfriend wanted to kiss him. Xiaoyu suddenly found that since he started dating Wenqing, he might have broken the record and created many historical firsts. This was not worth being happy at all, okay? In particular, Xiaoyu had a hunch that as long as he continued to date Wenqing, this would not be the last time. Xiaoyu took a deep breath, suppressed the churning emotions in his stomach, and told himself that Wenqing didn't do it on purpose. Looking at 001 sitting aside with his head down and not daring to look at him, Xiaoyu sighed helplessly, but his heart did soften. She was still a little girl. Although Wenqing was at most 1 or 2 years younger than him, she gave Xiaoyu a very strong feeling. Therefore, Xiaoyu directly reached out and gently held Wenqing's face, turning her to look at him. He lowered his head and approached her, with a slight smile in his eyes, and his words were very soft. "Well, I want to try." Xiaoyu's words disappeared in their lips. At this time, Xiaoyu's expression and words seemed to be glowing, and it was so gentle that it made people's hearts ripple. Xiaoyu didn't want to have intimate actions with Wenqing so soon. It should be said that he was not ready yet. Before he completely forgot his ex-girlfriend in his heart, Xiaoyu didn't want to do anything to Wenqing. Otherwise, it would seem that he was a hooligan thinking about one girl in his heart but doing that to another girl. Therefore, Xiaoyu felt that when he finally got over it, he and Wenqing could go further, which was his respect for them. But now, when Xiaoyu looked at Wenqing's appearance, he didn't know whether it was to comfort her or for other reasons. In short, he impulsively did such a thing. In fact, Xiaoyu didn't think so much at that time. He just followed his heart because that was what he wanted to do. When Xiaoyu touched 001's soft and delicate lips, his mind went blank and he couldn't think of anything. In his heart, there was only the touch of his own lips. Although Xiaoyu had only had one girlfriend, and they had not been intimate many times, Xiaoyu was not ignorant in this aspect. However, compared with 001 who had been taught by Liemo, Xiaoyu was still too inexperienced in this aspect. No matter what kind of things 001 had done before that made him speechless, Xiaoyu also knew that the other party had a blank in the emotional aspect. Therefore, Xiaoyu just gently rubbed his lips against 001's, even with a sense of comfort and pity. He didn't go deeper because Xiaoyu was worried that 001 would be scared. Xiaoyu's behavior did make 001 a little surprised, so her eyes widened slightly. However, the moist and soft touch on her lips evoked 001's memory in this aspect, which made her heart itch. However, this level of Xiaoyu's level made 001 dissatisfied. After all, the current 001 was no longer a noob in this aspect. This level was not enough to satisfy her. Therefore, 001 simply took the initiative and hugged Xiaoyu's head, pressing him tightly to himself. 001's action made Xiaoyu's eyes widen unconsciously. He was so stunned that he forgot to resist. Then he was kissed by 001's kissing method, which he learned from Liemo. Chapter 34. 001 took care of every part of Xiaoyu's lips. This kind of itchy feeling made Xiaoyu's lips unconsciously open slightly. Taking advantage of this opportunity, 001 stuck its tongue into Zhang Han's mouth. This made Xiaoyu's eyes widen even more. He couldn't help but let out a moan. However, this made 001 hug him even tighter and wander around his territory wantonly in his mouth. 001 stirred Tianshi in Xiaoyu's mouth. How could he not have any reaction? That kind of numbing feeling seemed to spread from his lips and mouth to the bottom of his heart, making Xiaoyu's body seem to become hotter and hotter. Xiaoyu instinctively responded to 001. He also reached out and hugged 001's head tightly. Then their tongues were inextricably entwined. Like fish out of water, they desperately sucked the saliva from each other's mouth. The ambiguous and loud kissing sound rang in their ears, but this only made their kiss even more intense. In the end, Xiaoyu and 001 separated, panting. Of course. 001 simulated Wenqing's body data. Otherwise, with the strength of 001's body, she wouldn't have felt tired at all. When their lips separated, they even made a loud sound. There were still ambiguous silver threads stuck to each other's lips. Xiaoyu and 001's lips were red and swollen and numb. One could tell how passionate their kiss was just now. Xiaoyu saw the silver threads, and 001's eyes were watery and filled with love after her red lips had been fiercely kissed. His ears were completely red, and a little blush spread uncontrollably on his fair cheeks. Xiaoyu's eyes dodged a few times. He didn't dare to look at 001 at all. It was too late. At this time, Xiaoyu's heart was also beating fast. Oh my god. He didn't know why he did such a thing. It shouldn't have happened, but just now, Xiaoyu was indeed addicted to it and kissed 001 in a daze. Xiaoyu couldn't help but cover her face. A kiss was a kiss, but it was still a passionate and deep kiss. This was not a simple or warm kiss at all. Instead, it was filled with passion and an indescribable tension between a man and a woman. In particular, Xiaoyu had originally wanted to train his girlfriend, but Wenqing seemed to have trained him first. Moreover, Xiaoyu turns to look at 001 in a strange way. Why is Wenqing so good at kissing? Not only was she not awkward, she seemed to be more used to it than him. Xiaoyu wasn't a male chauvinist who required his girlfriend to be pure white. However, it was normal for Xiaoyu to feel disappointed, especially since Wenqing had never had a boyfriend before. However, Xiaoyu felt that this question was a little difficult to ask, especially when it was directed at Wenqing. It seemed even stranger. However, Xiaoyu still couldn't suppress this kind of mentality, so he asked 001 with difficulty. Have you kissed anyone before? 001 nodded to Xiaoyu honestly. She had forgotten that Wenqing had never had this kind of experience. This made Xiaoyu's eyes darken. Is it your ex-boyfriend? Xiaoyu's voice became even more obscure. He felt that he was really bad. What did he care about here? Didn't he also have an ex-girlfriend? In today's society it was very normal. Xiaoyu's question made 001 come back to her senses. She blinked her eyes. She seemed to have said something serious just now. Therefore she remedied in time, no. 001 felt that she was right. Liamo was never her ex-boyfriend. He should be her dead husband. Xiaoyu didn't know why he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he heard 001 say, I just kissed a man. Xiaoyu didn't know what expression to put on his face. It seemed that he should be relieved, but there was a subtle feeling of discomfort in his heart. Xiaoyu exhaled. Wenqing really could make him so confused every time. He didn't know what to do. However, since they both had a past, the past could only be the past. They should start over. Therefore, Xiaoyu gently held 001's hand, and gradually inserted his fingers into the gap between her fingers, interlocking with hers. This made 001 look up at him, but Xiaoyu smiled gently at her. Please take care of me in the future, girlfriend. Since it was like this with 001, Xiaoyu felt that his original plan to take things slowly had been broken. So be it. He didn't want to think about Fei Fei in the future. He just wanted to fill his mind and heart with Wenqing. Xiaoyu lowered his head and kissed 001's forehead gently, which made 001 stunned. She keenly perceived the change in Xiaoyu. He seemed to have made a decision just now. However, 001 was not a person who would care about these things. She only knew that she should be Xiaoyu's girlfriend during this period of time, and then wait for Fei Fei to come back and break up with Xiaoyu. This familiar plot made 001 and Error, who had experienced the failure in the previous world, tremble in their hearts. This time the breakup should be smooth, right? 001 asked tentatively to Error. How could Error know? Of course it hoped that it would be smooth. Therefore it comforted 001, it should be. After all, this time you spent a lot of effort to maintain the original plot and become Xiaoyu's girlfriend. In the previous world it was an accident. Liamo is Liamo and Xiaoyu is Xiaoyu. He will definitely break up with you for Fei Fei. Error's comfort made 001 breathe a sigh of relief. It was true that the failure of the task in the previous world had caused a serious psychological shadow to 001. It was really surprising that Xiaoyu and 001 were dating in this way. Although Wenqing was a good student, and her reputation was naturally much better than Fei Fei's, Wenqing was a good wife and a loving mother in men's dreams. However, Wenqing was a good wife and loving mother in every man's dreams, while Fei Fei was a seductress, the lover of the masses. The man praised Wenqing and despised Fei Fei, but in reality, weren't they all thinking about that beauty? Fei Fei always wore exquisite makeup and dressed fashionably and beautifully. She wore high heels, and wherever she passed, there was a fragrant wind, which was very attractive. He had such an ex-girlfriend, but his current girlfriend was such a simple village belle in the 1980s. Fortunately, Xiaoyu had adapted well. He didn't have much to say about his girlfriend's outfit. Wenqing could dress up however she liked. He didn't mind. Even when Xiaoyu and Wenqing walked on campus because of their appearance, they often attracted the pity of others. When Xiaoyu and Fei Fei were together, they were not a beautiful vase. How could they be a match for Xiaoyu, the school hunk? When Wenqing was together, she was a bookworm. How could she be a match for their talented and good-looking Prince Charming? Alas, if Wenqing's brain and Fei Fei's appearance were combined, she would be a match for Xiaoyu. After all, Xiaoyu was such a person with both talent and beauty. 001 was not a person who would care about other people's eyes, but Xiaoyu knew that girls were sensitive and fragile. Therefore he always unconsciously helped 001 block other people's eyes from looking at her. Xiaoyu didn't want 001 to feel uncomfortable. He took 001 to a hidden place in the woods, looked at 001 worriedly and asked, "Qing Qing, are you okay? You can tell me anything." Xiaoyu looked at 001 encouragingly, and then he held 001's little hand tightly. This made 001 look at him in confusion, but her eyes were still clear and calm. This made Xiaoyu feel relieved. He reached out and gently stroked 001's hair, feeling that he was thinking too much. However, after hearing Xiaoyu's words, 001 also thought of something, which made her eyes fall on Xiaoyu's attractive lips. When she was with Liemo, 001 didn't need to worry about things like kissing. They were so affectionate that it was hard to tell how intimate they were. But obviously, Xiaoyu was not like this. He and 001 were different from Liemo from the beginning. However, 001 liked that kind of intimacy very much. Perhaps it was because of Liemo's teaching. In 001's understanding, boyfriends were used to do this kind of thing. Therefore, if Xiaoyu didn't take the initiative, it would be fine. If she wanted it, she could take it directly. Therefore, although 001 didn't understand the meaning of Xiaoyu's words, she still followed his words and said, "Just kiss me." His girlfriend stood in front of him with a sincere face. She raised her tender little face and asked for a kiss. This was indeed a great stimulation for Xiaoyu. He coughed uncomfortably, but his heart was beating wildly because of 001's words. His breathing was rapid and he couldn't calm down. Xiaoyu was a little shy, but he was a little happy because of his girlfriend's honesty and clinginess. Therefore, Xiaoyu's eyes flickered slightly, but he still took a deep breath, lowered his head to approach 001 and kissed her lips. As soon as they touched that softness, both of them couldn't help but sigh with satisfaction and comfort. The kiss between Xiaoyu and 001 had always been like dry wood meeting a raging fire. It was not something that could be solved by simply lips touching. Therefore, when 001's hands were around Xiaoyu's neck, Xiaoyu couldn't help but hold 001's waist tightly and hug her to himself. In the end, Xiaoyu couldn't control himself and pressed 001 against a big tree trunk behind them. After kissing 001 reluctantly for a long time, Xiaoyu finally let go of 001's delicate lips while panting. However, Xiaoyu still pressed 001 against the tree. He did not leave her. Xiaoyu's forehead was gently pressed against 001's forehead. On her forehead, he looked intoxicated as if he hadn't recovered from the passionate kiss just now. Xiaoyu's fair face was flushed red, making him look even more beautiful and pleasing to the eye. However, Xiaoyu's expression was very happy. He couldn't help but close his eyes and laugh in a low voice. Until Xiaoyu raised his hand and stroked 001's cheek all the way. He lovingly rubbed her hot skin with his fingertips. Xiaoyu gazed at 001 with an unconscious tenderness and gentleness in her eyes. His expression became more and more gentle, and he couldn't help but lower his head and kiss 001's red and swollen lips. "Ching Ching, I really like it." Xiaoyu couldn't help sighing at 001. However, he also thought of some other things in his heart, such as Wenqing's figure. Just now, when Xiaoyu pressed against Wenqing's body, it was soft, but there was really nothing to look at. This made Xiaoyu's mind slightly moved. It just happened that he promised Wenqing to take over the cooking, so he often made milk and papaya stew for 001 to eat. When kissing just now, Xiaoyu naturally fully learned the previous lesson and took off 001's glasses in advance. In order to avoid the previous tragedy, no matter how confused he was, he couldn't forget this point, although it was a little disappointing. 001, who was not wearing glasses, fully showed Wenqing's delicate little face. However, the other party's skin was really good, flawless, like the cream of snow, which made Xiaoyu unable to put it down. He inevitably began to fantasize about his girlfriend. The touch of her hands and face was so good, he didn't know if other parts of her body were the same. Xiaoyu vaguely glanced at a relatively small part of 001's body, and his mind couldn't help floating. Of course, 001 didn't feel anything, but Xiaoyu's cheeks and ears were red, and he didn't dare to look at her at all. No matter how indescribable 001 was sometimes, she still had one advantage, which was that she was obedient. When Xiaoyu pretended to be calm on the surface but in fact his heart was beating fast and his ears were red, he took the papaya soup for 001 to drink. She didn't ask anything and directly drank it up. Chapter 35. Sweet little angels. Lili Lalin Wanting was usually very dependable. But sometimes he seemed to be brainless. Especially when Liemo thought of Lin Wanting running out and being seen by others like this, he felt even more uncomfortable. Therefore, Liemo hugged Lin Wanting tightly without thinking, wanting to hide her tightly in his arms. He didn't want others to peek at him. Liemo's heart raced, especially when he saw Lin Wanting's innocent and unrepentant expression. He was about to be driven mad by her. Liemo grabbed Lin Wanting's hand tightly. He glared at him fiercely as if he wanted to eat him alive. To be honest, 001 was really frightened by Li Mo's fierce appearance, so he had never been like this before. The handsome and indifferent young man seemed to have suddenly turned into a hungry wolf. Of course, 001 was not afraid. She was confident that even if Li Mo really turned into a wolf, he would not be eaten by him. Therefore 001 was still very calm. Li Mo, let me go. Something happened outside. 001 just calmly narrated this fact to Li Mo, without any emotion. Li Mo was infuriated by 001. His eyes were bloodshot. They couldn't help but sneer. Lin Wanting, you've successfully driven me crazy. You win. When 001 felt confused after Li Mo said this, he sealed her mouth fiercely. Li Mo said that the long period of suppressed desire and anger had created this passionate and fierce kiss. His skills are really rusty. But passion was enough to make up for it. Just like that, he bumped into 001's mouth. He forcefully curled his tongue around hers. They made loud clicking sounds of kissing. This voice stimulated Li Mo's inner desire and made his body burn hotter and hotter. Li Mo became more and more addicted to it. He couldn't help but hug 001 tightly, constantly adjusting his posture and angle to make it easier for him to kiss her. 001's eyes widened in disbelief. She had long been stunned. This human behavior was attributed to reproduction, which meant that Li Mo wanted to have children with her. 001. She was frightened at last, and her and Error's dull and thick nerves were aware that the script in their hands was not quite right. Of course, what they were playing was a crush. The target of the mission wanted to have children with her, so how could it be considered a crush? Because of this, 001 was unable to move for a long time, allowing Li Mo to do whatever he wanted to her. Li Mo held 001's waist tightly with one hand and her neck with the other, pressing her against him. Li Mo's mouth wrapped around her pink lips. He sucked and kissed them hard, and his breathing became more and more rapid. After a long while, Li Mo reluctantly let go of 001 while panting. However, his lips couldn't help but linger on the corner of her lips, and he couldn't help but peck at it. Li Mo's eyes were still red from the passion from before, but he was suppressing it with all his might. Just like the surging desire in his body, it couldn't be quenched by a mere kiss. However, Li Mo's face was flushed and his breath was hot. He still retained his clarity and sanity. Li Mo's eyes softened when he saw that 001 hadn't reacted yet. His heart was filled with love. He couldn't help kissing 001's fair and smooth face. His lips caressed her skin and he said softly, "Wan, let's be together." Li Mo's kiss itself explained a lot of problems. It represented his compromise with Lin Wanting. He finally didn't want to escape anymore, nor did he want to resist the feeling of Lin Wanting in his heart. It also showed that Li Mo was willing to forget the past and start over with Lin Wanting. He had never been a casual person, and this decision was absolutely serious. However, now it was 001 and Error's turn to be brain-dead. They couldn't accept it. How could this be? 001 and Error almost wanted to beat themselves to death. Were they going to fail their mission? They couldn't imagine it. While 001 didn't answer for a long time, Li Mo was not in a hurry. He just kissed her slowly and asked her in a sexy and seductive voice, Li Mo's last syllable was so seductive that it made one's ears feel like they were about to get pregnant. Li Mo held 001 in his arms and stroked her gently, patiently waiting for her answer. I think it doesn't matter. Anyway, you want to experience the 7 emotions and 6 desires of the earth. Isn't falling in love with someone also a part of it? What's more, this is before Sun Jiaoyang comes back, so we won't ruin the plot. Anyway, after Sun Jiaoyang comes back, Li Mo will definitely break up with you. 001 felt that what Error said was very reasonable, so she nodded calmly to Li Mo and said, "Okay." 001's answer made Li Mo's heart beat very fast for a moment, and then he was overwhelmed by a burst of ecstasy. Although Li Mo had expected that Lin Wanting would not refuse him at all, after all, her love for him was so obvious. But hearing her promise in person, Li Mo's face unconsciously showed a bright smile. Li Mo couldn't wait to hold 001 tightly in his arms. He couldn't help burying his cheek in her neck and rubbing it, saying in a muffled voice, "That's great." However, after the ferocious joy subsided, Li Mo also felt that something was amiss. The faint sense of emptiness couldn't be ignored, but Li Mo temporarily suppressed it. Li Mo's strong emotions couldn't affect 001. She just felt very confused. After all, she didn't understand why things had developed to this point. She always thought that she had done a good job. Don't think about it. It's not your fault. It must be that the male creatures on the earth have different ideas. 001 also accepted Error's statement. Otherwise it couldn't be explained at all. After Li Mo and 001 confirmed their relationship, he didn't hide anything anymore. After all, Li Mo had resisted and suppressed himself before. Now that he had admitted it, he naturally didn't care about it anymore. Li Mo and 001 sat together, snuggling intimately. His hand held 001's small hand. Under the cover of their sight, Li Mo couldn't help but gently play with the small hand in his palm. His lips couldn't help but curl up. He had a relaxed and happy smile on his face, which he had never had before. 001 tried to ignore the discomfort in her hand. Error had checked for her. This was the most basic intimacy between men and women on the earth. She shouldn't refuse. 001 turned her head to the outside of the car. At this time they were competing to sit on the bus on the way back. 001 looked at the scenery outside without any focus, while Li Mo held 001's hand intimately and looked at her with a smile. Xianghua sat behind Li Mo and 001. She secretly stared at 001 from time to time. She didn't know why she was like this. She completely ignored Li Mo. Xianghua thought that it was because 001 was her enemy. Last time she went for wool and came home shorn, which made her lose face. Therefore she had to observe her carefully so that she could get back at her next time. Li Mo felt that his biggest gain from this trip to the hot spring was that he had a girlfriend. Li Mo had been holding 001's hand all the time. He didn't expect this kind of intimate emotion to appear in him. Until 001 was sent to the girls' dormitory, Li Mo was still a little reluctant. He kept holding 001's hand and didn't let go. Remember to call me if you need anything. If you don't need anything, remember to miss me. Li Mo's hand gently stroked 001's cheek and whispered to her one by one. It was really not Li Mo's character to be so sentimental, but he didn't feel anything. On the contrary, he felt very comfortable. Li Mo wanted to roll up the underwear in his hand like a hot potato and throw it away. However, he thought that it was a gift from Lin Wanting after all, so he hesitated and kept it. However, as soon as he saw it, Li Mo was annoyed, and his cheeks inevitably blushed. However, it was so ostentatious that Li Mo couldn't ignore it. Just like Lin Wanting, it was very quiet, but it had a strong sense of existence in Li Mo. 001, on the other hand, was very happy after giving this gift to Li Mo. She thought that she was very considerate and Li Mo would be very happy. Li Mo and Lin Wanting had different majors, but sometimes they had the same courses. What's more, in order to see Li Mo, Lin Wanting naturally chose the same elective course as him, and 001 would not change. In fact, Li Mo wanted to avoid Lin Wanting. He didn't want to see her for the time being. As soon as he saw Lin Wanting, he would think of the underwear that he would never take out to wear in his life, which made his cheeks blush, but he couldn't help being angry with Lin Wanting. Lin Wanting, as usual, didn't feel anything and greeted Li Mo warmly. However, Li Mo faintly greeted Lin Wanting, looking very indifferent. Xianghua, who was in the dormitory behind Lin Wanting, saw this and her eyes lit up. 001 didn't think there was anything wrong with Li Mo's attitude, but Sun Sun felt wronged for her. Wanting, why is he like this? Wasn't it true? The girl greeted him with such an attitude. Wasn't it embarrassing? If they were not familiar with each other, it would be fine. However, on that day, Li Mo sent her to the dormitory and helped her clean up. It was obvious that they had a close relationship. Therefore, Li Mo's attitude was unreasonable. He has always been like this. 001 replied as if it was a matter of course. This made Sun Sun look at her with eyes full of sympathy. She made up a tens of thousands of words in her mind. 001's sad love story. 001 didn't notice, but Xianghua, who was behind them, had already raised the corner of his mouth sarcastically. Li Mo didn't want to see it, but 001 wouldn't let him succeed. Li Mo thought that he and Lin Wanting wouldn't have many interactions in college, unlike in high school, but it turned out that he was too naive. Lin Wanting was still the same as when she was in high school. She was everywhere. Of course, it didn't mean that she was chasing after him and trying to block him like Sun Jiaoyang. He didn't know when it started, but his roommates in the dormitory started to look at Li Mo in a strange way. Just like in high school, it was a well-known secret that Lin Wanting liked Li Mo, but it was still the same in college. Lin Wanting never said that she liked him, let alone publicized it. When others asked her, she always got a negative answer. However, everyone thought that Lin Wanting didn't mean it, or she was too shy to admit it. Because Lin Wanting's love for Li Mo was so obvious that people with discerning eyes could see it. It was useless for her to deny it. The new campus belle of the secretarial department liked the school hunk of the business administration, which was a tacit idea. Liemo. He thought of the feeling of being dominated by Lin Wanting's eyes in high school. Couldn't he escape in college? Chapter 36. Sweet little angels. Lilil. After all, this was the young man she liked so much. He was the first love that she liked with all her might and tried her best to pursue. In this relationship, Sun Jiaoyang had indeed put in more effort than Liemo. Moreover, she also believed that the one who fell in love first must be the loser. Even if she was bright and moving, she smiled brightly at Liemo. She was generous and confident in front of others, but in this relationship she had an inferiority complex. And Liemo was also in love for the first time. He was also a newbie. There were also many things that were not handled well in relationships. In the end, Liemo was still too young, but he could not deny his sincerity in dating Sun Jiaoyang at that time. When Sun Jiaoyang was pursuing Liemo, she thought that as long as he could fall in love with her, she would not care about anything else. However, a little girl, and a young lady who had been pampered since she was young, even if she might always be so rational and not ask for anything in return? After Sun Jiaoyang got it, she became more and more greedy and dissatisfied. She began to care about her gains and losses in this relationship, and at the same time, her heart became more and more uncomfortable. Sun Jiaoyang was a dignified young lady. In order to not only put down her airs, she had done a lot of things that she would never have done. She went through a lot of hardships. This moved him. Before Liemo accepted her, Sun Jiaoyang was willing to endure it and thought it was sweet. But after becoming Liemo's girlfriend, Sun Jiaoyang felt that she was not worth it. Which boyfriend didn't treat his girlfriend like the palm of his hand? Why was Liemo not warm enough to her? Not to mention that there were many girls who couldn't compare to her. Why didn't she receive this treatment? Sun Jiaoyang wanted Liemo to regret. She wanted Liemo to know that she could not live without him. There was also a childhood sweetheart who had ulterior motives, sowing discord. In a fit of anger, Sun Jiaoyang impulsively told Liemo to break up and go abroad. In fact, after going abroad, Sun Jiaoyang's mind calmed down and she regretted it. However, for the sake of her pride, she could not bring herself to return to China to find Liemo. Sun Jiaoyang thought that as long as Liemo chased after her, she would go back with him. However, she waited and waited, but Liemo still did not come. This made Sun Jiaoyang feel disheartened. In her heart, she had truly broken up with Liemo, but she still tried to get in touch with other boys. After Liemo, Sun Jiaoyang also dated a few other men. They were all good-looking and capable. However, Sun Jiaoyang found that she could not forget Liemo. Until she received a phone call from Xiang Hua, which gave Sun Jiaoyang an excuse to return to China. Because of this phone call, Sun Jiaoyang returned to China 5 years earlier than in the plot. After Xiang Hua hung up the phone, she looked at the dark night outside the window and let out a deep sigh. She did not know whether what she did was right or wrong. However, she knew very well that she did not want to see Liemo and Lin Wanting be together. In particular, Liemo and she were getting closer and closer, and the two of them were even engaged. Xiang Hua saw the rings on Liemo and Lin Wanting's hands, so she couldn't help but investigate them. After knowing the existence of Sun Jiaoyang, she immediately took action. Speaking of which, Xiang Hua knew Sun Jiaoyang. After all, they were both rich ladies in the same circle. However, they were often compared. In fact, they were not very good at dealing with each other. But now, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. There was still a long time before the holiday. After Liemo and 001 got engaged, they were forbidden to contact each other for a period of time. Seeing Liemo's fierce posture at the engagement party, Father Lin and Mother Lin were worried that he would do something out of line after the engagement. Lin Wanting was still young. Moreover, they were still studying. It would be bad if anything happened at this time. After all, 001 had become his fiancée. Liemo didn't want to offend his father-in-law too much. Even if they couldn't see each other, Liemo and 001 could still call each other and video call each other. At the beginning, Liemo was really happy. He just wanted to look at 001 to relieve his longing and see if she was okay. Liemo would video call 001 every night and whisper his love words to her, which made him very happy. However, in the end it was a little different. Because one day when 001 just came out of the shower to video call Liemo, the water drops on her body were not dry, and her nightdress hung loosely on her body. Not only was she exposed, but she was also wet and seductive. This made Liemo, who was peeping on the other side of the video, very excited. Liemo couldn't help but think back to that time in the school dormitory. He almost had a nosebleed again. This made Li Mo's breathing become rapid, and his body couldn't help but have a reaction. Looking at 001 in the video, Li Mo quietly put his hands under his body, and his face became redder and redder. Li Mo's eyes became misty, and he almost couldn't help moaning. "Baby, take off your clothes, okay?" Li Mo coaxed 001. Even the young man, who was like an ink and wash painting, was no different from other men at this time. 001 looked at Li Mo carefully in the video. According to the data she had scanned, she naturally knew what Li Mo was doing. But since she was his fiancée, 001 felt that she had the obligation to help him in this regard. Therefore, she took off her clothes in front of Li Mo in the video and followed his instructions. Although he couldn't actually touch 001, it was also interesting, which made Li Mo very excited both mentally and physically. Until Li Mo stopped panting, he couldn't wait to hug 001 and kiss her hard, but she was on the other side of the video. Li Mo reached out and touched the screen of his mobile phone reluctantly, as if he was touching 001. He still had some lust left in him. His lustful eyes stared deeply at 001. Even his words seemed to carry a burning desire. "Baby, I love you." Li Mo bowed his head and kissed the figure of 001 on the mobile phone, but his words were so sincere. Even if 001 didn't understand feelings, she couldn't help but feel a little shocked at this time. However, at this time, Li Mo's ears were red, and his eyes were a little evasive. "Wan, put on your clothes. Don't catch a cold." It was very difficult for Li Mo to say this sentence. This time, his shyness was obvious. Li Mo didn't expect that he would be so bold. It seemed that men were really lustful. Ever since that time, things like this had been happening more and more frequently, allowing Li Mo to satisfy his desire for 001. Until Father Lin and Mother Lin stopped stopping him, Li Mo immediately took 001 to the beach to play. At this time, Sun Jiaoyang also returned to China, and she went directly to Li Mo's residence. All the things to play on the beach were prepared by Li Mo, including 001's swimsuit. When 001 came out, Li Mo looked very calm. He took her hand and walked forward. Although he had seen what he should and shouldn't have seen, it didn't mean that 001's appearance was not attractive to him. In fact, Li Mo was just pretending to be calm on the surface. He held 001's wrist with blue veins. He had to endure it. The glass shards fell from her body without leaving a trace. It was like hitting a stone with an egg. Of course, the egg was the wine bottle and the stone was 001. 001 blinked her eyes. She was very confused. Why would this kind of thing cause danger to the lives of Earthlings? 001 calmly reached out to get the broken glass off her head and body, but she was unscathed. The drunkard woke up in shock. How is this possible? His lips trembled and he looked at 001 as if he was looking at a monster. 001 also noticed the abnormality at this time. It turned out that the physical fitness of Earthlings was so far away from that of planet Araga. She should have thought of it long ago. At this time, in the heart of 001, the idea that Earthlings were weak and needed to be taken good care of, or they would die easily, had been deeply rooted. Error, what if others find out? Even if 001 was not smart, it was the most basic thing to do not expose her identity during the mission. Don't worry. I have deleted all their memories. They won't find anything unusual. 001 was relieved and walked towards Li Mo. The Araga people did not have a specific face. They only had a huge shape. Therefore, since the mission this time was to replace Lin Wanting, 001 scanned her behavior pattern and appearance. It was not difficult to complete an external copy. Li Mo was drunk and unconscious, which was different from what Lin Wanting remembered. But 001 and Era thought it was not a big deal. After all, they saved Li Mo's life. Their next task was to send Li Mo home. Since Li Mo could no longer leave, 001 directly picked Li Mo up and walked out of the bar. With Lin Wanting's memory, 001 and Era both knew where Li Mo's home was. They walked directly to his door. They were not familiar with the business of driving a car. For a soldier on planet Araga, walking more than 10 kilometers was nothing. In front of Li Mo's door, 001 rang the doorbell. This was what she learned from Lin Wanting's memory. Human civilization was indeed advanced. 001 put Li Mo down and waited for the person inside to come out and open the door. The person who came out was Li Mo's mother. Li Mo and Lin Wanting's family background was similar. His father was a university professor. His mother was also a teacher. Li Mo had been influenced by his parents since he was a child. She was introverted and excellent, completely different from Sun Jiaoyang's growth environment. Perhaps he was attracted to her. Liemo had been their pride since he was a child. They had never worried about him. Although they were worried about Liemo's relationship in high school, Liemo had always been obedient. They were also afraid that it was the child's belated rebellious period, so they did not dare to say anything. Fortunately, Liemo was a good child. Even when he was in love, his grades never dropped, which made them feel relieved. How could they not know their own son? He would never mess around. Since he was in love with a girl in high school, he must be serious. They all wanted to wait for the end of the college entrance examination to meet their parents. However, they did not expect that after the college entrance examination, they would break up, and the girl would go abroad without saying a word. Seeing their son go out to get drunk almost every night for a month, causing them to worry about him, it wasn't like they didn't have any complaints towards Sun Jiaoyang. At this time, when Liemo's mother saw her son being sent back by a girl, her mood was a little complicated. Lin Wanting's appearance was very advantageous, and her scholarly aura was also very good. Otherwise, when Sun Jiaoyang knew that Lin Wanting liked Liemo, he would not have felt a sense of crisis and rejected her so much. Lin Wanting's temperament was unique, and she had a very elegant classical beauty. For Liemo's mother, who was engaged in the education industry, she undoubtedly had a good first impression of such a girl. You are. Liemo's mother looked at 001 in surprise and asked. After all, it was hard not to think too much in the middle of the night, but 001 was a person who never thought too much. Hello, Andy, I am Liemo's classmate. I saw him drunk in the bar, so I sent him back. There was nothing wrong with 001's words, but Liemo's mother was also a teenager, and her work often let her come into contact with girls. Liemo's mother was silent and took her son. She could see that the girl in front of her should have some feelings for her son. Not good. The lady in front of you thinks that Lin Wanting likes Liemo. 001 was shocked. She did not forget that Ms. Lin was secretly in love with Qin Haodong, and she could not let anyone know. Otherwise, wouldn't it mean that she had destroyed the original track, and her mission would fail? Therefore 001 immediately denied righteously, "No, you misunderstood. I don't like Liemo." Seeing that Liemo's mother still did not speak, 001 emphasized again, "I really don't like him." Hearing this, Liemo's mother's expression became more complicated. She looked at 001 and nodded gently, "Okay, child, I understand." Thinking that the matter had been solved, 001 asked Liemo's mother, "Please don't tell him that I sent him back." 001 thought that Liemo did not know that Lin Wanting followed him, so she naturally could not let him know. 001 felt that maybe she had misunderstood Ms. Lin before. She was not a stalker, she just wanted to protect her sweetheart. There was a special term on the earth to describe this kind of behavior, flower protector. However, that was done by a male to a female. What about a female to a male? Then it should be the flower protector. Both 001 and Error felt that there was no problem with this logic. Not only that, but the two of them were also proud at this moment. You watched Liemo in the bar and then sent him home. Very good. What Lin Wanting did tonight you have done very well. You are really worthy of being called E. In the face of Error's praise, 001 tried not to let the corners of her mouth rise. You flatter me, Error. I still have a lot to do. I can't be proud. I have to keep it up and work harder. Liemo's mother supported her son and looked at the back of 001. She could not help but sigh, what a silly girl. She had done so much for her son behind his back without asking for anything in return. Seeing that she was so familiar with it, it should not be the first time. In fact, Mama Li misunderstood. In the past, Liemo came back by himself and Lin Wanting just followed him. Mama Li looked at her drunk son and felt even more helpless. Son, there is still a silly girl who secretly likes you so much. Why don't you cheer up? Liemo was a very good man who combined self-discipline and loss of control. Although he went to the bar every night to get drunk, he never missed his homework in the day's cram school. Although both Liemo and Lin Wanting had been admitted to the best universities, they still had to make up for their future studies during the summer. Originally, Liemo planned to go on a graduation trip with Sun Jiaoyang, but now he could only focus on his studies. And Lin Wanting naturally inquired about where Liemo was studying, and they were in the same class. Lin Wanting always tried to find ways to let herself and Liemo see each other in the same place, but other than that, she would not take the initiative to do anything else. Just like in high school, Lin Wanting sat behind Liemo. What should a person who has a crush do? 001 had no feelings, so she naturally did not know how a girl who had a crush should face the boy she had a crush on. Even if she copied everything Lin Wanting did, it was just a form of external expression. Don't worry, I have already searched the information on the earth. Got it, Secret Love Handbook, just follow this and you will be fine. Not bad, I didn't expect you to be so perceptive. Keep up the good work. After receiving Error's encouragement, this made 001 more confident in herself. The cram school emphasized a balance between work and rest, not to mention that this was indeed a special class. The students in this class should not only have good academic performance, but also be well-rounded. Therefore, the teacher organized an outing for the cram school, and the students had to bring their own materials, cook, build a sleeping tent, and so on. Although 001 did not understand any common sense on the Earth, the people on planet Araga originally had the most powerful receiver and data processing center. For those academic problems, 001 scanned and analyzed, and the answer came out. Therefore, 001's results were better than Lin Wanting's previous results, faintly approaching Li Mo's, which made Li Mo could not help but look at her. Chapter 37. The cute little angels were all chattering. Only Li Mo and 001 were surprised. The students around them were all chattering away except for Li Mo and 001, who were the only ones who were surprised. None of them were warm or enthusiastic people. But they were also politely answering the questions of the students around them, from the beginning to the end. Li Mo did not meet 001's gaze, and 001 did not look at Li Mo even once. Li Mo looked very normal on the surface, but he clearly knew that he could not pretend that nothing had happened. It was precisely because the impact was too great that he tried to cover it up. However, Li Mo clearly knew that he was avoiding a certain feeling, but 001's performance made him unable to ignore it. Li Mo consciously avoided 001, but he couldn't help but pay attention to her. Why didn't she look at him now? Was she angry? Or was it that he thought of the guest that made his heart sink? Li Mo didn't even dare to think about it. Or did she not like him anymore? Wasn't this what he wanted her to be like from the beginning? But why did he find it so hard to accept now? Li Mo, who was originally relieved that 001 did not frequently pay attention to him and disturb his heart lake. At this time, his mood was completely depressed. In fact, it was 001 who felt that she had performed her recent mission very well. She had done everything that was mentioned in the secret love manual, she didn't have to stare at him so urgently anymore. Moreover, she heard that it was very comfortable to soak in a hot spring on Earth. This made 001 very curious and eager to try. After arriving at the hotel, she made an appointment with other female classmates. It was better to listen to the experienced Earth females on this kind of thing. Therefore, 001 did not have much time to stare at Li Mo at this time. On the other hand, Li Mo frequently looked at 001. She seemed to be very interested in something. She had been listening attentively with her head tilted. Moreover, the way Lin wanting to smile. Li Mo had wanted to say a long time ago that it was too much like a tender and elegant little flower blooming alone. However, the difference now was that this little flower quietly bloomed in his heart. Li Mo pursed his lips and looked at Lin Wanting's smile. His heart itched and he wanted to do something. His hands unconsciously clenched. However, even after 001 and her classmates entered the hot spring, Li Mo did not find a chance to talk to her. 001 and her classmates were separated, but they were very close to each other and could talk through a curtain. It was said that this was the special design of this hotel, but in fact, it was specially prepared by Xiang Hua. If she didn't separate them, how could she deal with her? Xiang Hua had asked 001 to make a fool of herself. If she ran out of the hot spring in such a disheveled state, how could she deal with her? Xiang Hua just wanted 001 to make a fool of himself. If he ran out of the hot spring in such a disheveled state, all the other students, including boys and girls, would see it. However, Xiang Hua did not expect that after 001 saw a snake soaking in the hot spring, she did not panic at all, let alone run out and shout. However, Xiang Hua didn't expect that after 001 saw a snake soaking in the hot spring, she didn't panic or get scared at all, let alone run out and yell. It was still alive. The snake hissed and stuck out its tongue as if it was showing off its strength to 001. However, in fact, animals had a sharper instinct than humans. It sensed that 001 was a very dangerous existence to it. It was just afraid and wanted to escape. However, in fact, animals had a more sensitive instinct than humans. It sensed that 001 was a very dangerous existence to it. It was just afraid and wanted to escape. But 001 held the snake's body tightly and looked at its green eyes. Yes, it's a reptile. It's non-venomous. 001 nodded its little head with interest. Other than humans, this was the first time she had been so close to another creature on Earth. 001 nodded its little head with interest. Apart from humans, this was the first time she had been so close to another creature on the Earth. 001 was having a good time playing with the snake, but Xianghua, who was waiting outside, was anxious. Why hasn't there been any reaction after so long? What exactly is going on inside? Xianghua gritted her teeth. She couldn't wait any longer, so she decided to go in and see for herself. However, 001 was not scared, but she was scared enough to scream. 001 is also scared by her voice. Her hand trembles and the snake flies out of her hand. Coincidentally, the snake landed on Xianghua's body. This scared Xianghua out of her wits. Her voice almost pierced through the sky. At this time, 001 suddenly rushed out of the water, bringing with it a splashing sound. She grabbed a towel from the side, wrapped it around herself, and ran towards Xianghua. 001 knew that the fragile little females on the Earth were afraid of these things, and it was said that males were generally stronger than females. But when 001 thought of the weak Liemo, she suddenly felt that the females on the Earth were really weak and they needed more care. Therefore, 001 put one hand around Xianghua's waist and held her in his arms, and quickly took the snake from her with the other hand. Well, it's all right. Don't be afraid. 001 comforted Xianghua in a soft voice unique to Lin Wanting. It was very comfortable to listen to. Even Xianghua couldn't help sobbing and gradually calmed down under her comfort. 001 reached out and gently wiped away Xianghua's tears. Well, don't cry. Your delicate makeup is about to be put on. 001's words made Xianghua pause. Only then did she realize that she had been hugging her enemy. This made her face turn red. She pushed 001 away vigorously and got out of her arms. Who told you to say that? Xianghua flew into a rage out of humiliation. But she didn't know why her eyes flickered, and she didn't dare to look at 001. In the end, Xianghua secretly glared at 001 and ran away. This made 001 confused. It seemed that the minds of girls on the Earth were also difficult to understand. Xianghua made such a big noise before, which alarmed a lot of people. When Liemo heard that it was Lin Wanting's hot spring that had an accident, he ran out in a hurry. Ah, there's a thief. They didn't expect that someone would take advantage of the chaos to steal things. The girl screamed. Hearing this, 001 quickly ran out, but she didn't expect to run into Liemo head-on. 001 was so focused on catching the thief that he didn't notice anything, but Liemo was so angry that he was about to spit fire. 001 wanted to run past Li Missouri. She didn't want to stay at all. However, when she passed by Liemo, Liemo suddenly reached out and grabbed her tightly. Not only that, but this was different from usual. Liemo directly hid 001 in his arms. This surprised 001, so she paused for a moment, and was firmly held in his arms by Liemo. However, what greeted 001 was Liemo's exasperated reprimand, which surrounded her like a blanket. Lin Wanting, what are you thinking? Why did you run out dressed like this? Lin Wanting silently guarded Liemo. After graduation, she specially went to work in his company. Almost everyone could see that Lin Wanting liked Liemo, but she had never confessed to Liemo. If she didn't say it herself, others wouldn't deliberately embarrass her. Such a gentle and introverted girl, everyone had a good impression of her. Perhaps Liemo later understood Lin Wanting's feelings, but he didn't say it. He just silently alienated Lin Wanting. Lin Wanting was a smart girl. She should be able to understand Liemo's meaning. Lin Wanting didn't say this kind of thing clearly. If she really made it clear, both sides would be embarrassed. After Sun Jiayang left, Lin Wanting stayed with Liemo for 6 years, always as a close friend. Later, when Sun Jiayang returned to China, Liemo and she rekindled their old love. This made Lin Wanting very painful, but seeing Liemo happy, she also blessed them and then left alone, regretting it for the rest of her life. You said so much, what's the problem? 001 asked in confusion. Error? I knew you didn't understand. The person who has a problem in this world is Lin Wanting. I quit. Why? Error, although it's a good habit to ask questions when you don't understand, you really have too many questions. Error gritted his teeth and said to 001. Then he explained to 001. No, it should be said to be the solitary roar of a woman on earth. Stupid C asterisk and T, stupid C asterisk and T, I'm AF asterisk king stupid C asterisk and T. Hearing this, 001 and Error were stunned. It should be known that Ms. Lin Wanting came from a scholarly family. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was a lady from a respectable family. Looking at 001's quiet appearance, Error swallowed and said, "Perhaps this is what it means to not perish in silence, but to break out in silence." After hearing Error say this, 001 immediately looked at it with admiration. "Error, you're amazing. You've just come to Earth but you already know so much." Error raised his tail and said, "It's nothing, I just happen to be a little smarter than you." 001 nodded. She had no objection to this. Then the beautiful woman in the video continued to stomp her feet. Her ferocious face destroyed her quiet scholarly aura. "Liamo didn't flirt with me, nor did he give me the wrong hint. On the contrary, he really didn't give me a chance at all. Of course he is not a scumbag. I don't have a problem with him, even my rival in love, Sun Jiaoyang. I just hate myself for not being able to meet my expectations. Would it kill you to King tell him your feelings for him? Obviously you met Liamo first and fell in love with him first. But you didn't dare to say it, so others dared to say it. You just watched them show off their love all day long. Well, they finally broke up. I didn't expect that I was such a coward. I just quietly stayed with the person I liked for 6 years, and then watched them reunite and fall in love again. I really didn't use any strength to pry him away. Even if you are a guardian, you should at least do something for Liamo. In the end, I really did nothing but like him." Chapter 38. Sweet little angels. Lili, to put it simply, it's that he's in heat. Wants to have sex with you, right? 001 affirmed Error's statement. "That's right, but you know, the reproduction method on planet Araga is different from that on Earth. So let Liamo do it. It's a good opportunity to experience it." 001 felt that what Error said made sense, so she let Liamo do it and did not resist. This made Liamo even more excited. He could not help but tighten his grip on 001. However, he had to restrain himself with great difficulty because he could not bear to hurt Lin Wanting. Liamo took a deep breath. He could no longer hold it in. He leaned over and lowered his head to kiss 001. His lips were burning hot. 001's pink lips could not help but tremble slightly. However, this stimulated Liamo even more, making him kiss her even tighter, not letting her escape. The ambiguous and loud sound of water rang out in the room. It made Liamo's heart grow hotter and hotter. That urge surged wildly in his body. Liamo hooked 001's little tongue, not letting go of any part of her little mouth. Liamo was clearly very inexperienced before, but now he was already very proficient in teasing 001. Liamo swallowed the sweet saliva that belonged to 001. He then passed his own into her little mouth. In the past he could not understand the intimate exchange of liquids at all, but now it made his heart palpitate like this. There were even some liquid 001 that she did not have time to swallow, and it flowed out from the corner of her lips. This made Liamo's kiss gentler. He lovingly licked the water stains at the corner of her lips clean. When he was aroused, he carried 001's body and moved unconsciously. He carried her and fell onto her big bed. Liamo could not help but let out a muffled groan because of the sudden intimate contact with her soft body. He couldn't bear to let go of 001, so he hugged her tightly and kept kissing her. His hands couldn't help but move. Even though Liamo's body ached from thinking about it, he knew he couldn't do it. However, this did not mean that he could not do anything. He could still let her experience the beauty of lust. 001 is defeated by Liamo's fingers, lips, and tongue. Her eyes are misty and her face is flushed. She indulges herself in the pleasure of her body. The beautiful scenery presented by 001 in front of him, which was caused by himself, also made Liamo more and more addicted, trying his best to please her. 001 collapsed on the big bed. Lust was really terrible. It drained all the strength in her body, but her limbs were trembling with joy. Liamo fell on 001's body and hugged her tightly. His face was deeply buried in 001's neck. Liamo couldn't help but rub against 001's body. His voice was almost pleading and acting coquettishly, "Wan, help me." In fact, even though it was not obvious, Liamo was indeed embarrassed. However, he buried his face in 001's shoulder, so no one could see his flushed face. The room was filled with the sweet smell of 001's body, which was emitted from her body. Just now, Liamo's trembling fingers had touched the most delicate part of 001's body, the part that he yearned for even in his dreams. He had tasted the sweet taste, and his fingers were covered with evidence that she had moved for him. 001's clothes were disheveled, and her blouse had long been completely open. Her underwear was thrown on top of her head, and her skirt was also piled up. However, her soaked underwear was hanging on her feet. 001 was completely obedient to Liemo at this time, allowing him to lead her hand and begin to move. Soon the room was also filled with Liemo's smell, which filled Liemo's heart with great satisfaction and joy. Liemo rubbed 001's face affectionately, and his heart was as soft as warm water. Wan, my Wan. Liemo held 001 in his arms and was reluctant to leave her. However, he also understood the priorities of the matter. He couldn't stay in Lin Wanting's room for a long time. Therefore, Liemo had to get up reluctantly. Seeing Lin Wanting being tortured by him made his body excited again. Liemo's cheeks and ears were red, and his eyes were a little evasive. He didn't dare to look at 001. Liemo's breathing was rapid. He began to help 001 put on her clothes with trembling hands. However, 001's underwear was completely useless. He needed to change it. Seeing the wet appearance, Liemo put it under his nose and sniffed it gently. An idea even flashed through Liemo's mind. He wanted to lick it. However, Liemo quickly reacted. He really looked like a pervert just now, but he really had that kind of strong desire. Thinking of the situation that caused this situation, Liemo almost had a nosebleed. He quickly covered his nose. Liemo tried to calm himself down. He turned to 001's wardrobe and took out a new pair of underwear for her. As soon as he saw her private things, the fragrance that belonged to her came to his face, which made Liemo's cheeks turn red again, and his heart beat wildly. After Liemo took care of 001 in front of the mirror, he couldn't help hugging her from behind and kissing her hair gently. Wan, let's get engaged, 001. 001 was dumbfounded, and so was the companion heir. Did all human relationships progress so quickly? She felt that she had just agreed to date Liemo, and now he wanted to get engaged to her? Liemo's heart was full of tenderness. He thought that since he and Lin Wanting were already like this, of course, he should give her an explanation. And in fact, Liemo really couldn't wait to have Lin Wanting. Just being her boyfriend was not enough. He wanted to settle things with her as soon as possible. 001's eyelashes blinked rapidly. She felt that she had encountered the biggest crisis since she carried out her mission. What's wrong with agreeing to him? The vows on this earth are not as unbreakable as those on planet Araga. The vows on earth are made to be broken. What? Is that so? 001 was shocked. Once a contract like an engagement was established on planet Araga, it was impossible to go back on it. That was why 001 was so nervous. However, after listening to Era's introduction of the situation on Earth, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. This was also like the previous breakup. 001 nodded in agreement without any burden. Therefore, 001 nodded gently in Liemo's arms. This made Liemo ecstatic, and his face could no longer remain calm. He was a calm and cold person, but he couldn't help but walk around her room several times with 001 in his arms. Of course, Liemo knew that this matter still required the consent of both parents. He had to leave a good impression on his future father-in-law and mother-in-law. Liemo put 001 down, but he still held her up with both hands and kissed her heavily. Looking at 001's expression, Liemo was very excited. His eyes twinkled, but he didn't say it out loud. However, his eyes already contained thousands of words. Before returning to his home, Liemo told his parents that he was dating Lin Wanting, and that marriage was the prerequisite. The Li family's parents were very open-minded, and Lin Wanting was also very good. They were happy to see this happen. However, it was never so easy to marry someone else's daughter. Therefore, Liemo's father and Mama Li both encouraged and supported Liemo. Father Lin and Mother Lin were not unreasonable people. It was indeed time for their daughter to fall in love. They were just worried that she didn't know how to protect herself and would be hurt. When Liemo came to the door with a gift, they didn't embarrass him. Uncle, Aunt, I'm Wan's boyfriend, Liemo. Liemo formally introduced himself to Father Lin and Mother Lin. His every move was elegant and polite. Naturally, he also wanted to leave a good impression on his future father-in-law and mother-in-law. Yes, in Liemo's heart he believed that 001 was so. Father Lin and Mother Lin wouldn't believe a verbal promise. Now they didn't need to talk too much with each other. However, when they saw Liemo's sincere attitude and sincere gaze, they could only observe him in secret, allowing them to observe him from all sides. Liemo was even more aware of this. He wanted to prove himself to Lin Wanting's parents with his own practical actions. Lin Wanting's parents allowed Liemo to go upstairs to see her. At this time, 001 was in her bedroom. Liemo gently opened the door, walked in quietly and hugged her from behind. "You little heartless girl, didn't you know to call me?" Liemo's hands were tightly wrapped around 001's waist, but he couldn't help burying his face deep into her neck. He rubbed it gently and took a deep breath of her fragrance. Liemo didn't expect that falling in love would make him like this. However, it was indeed him who was worried and tossing and turning, and it was the girl in his arms who caused him to be like this. 001 was not frightened by Liemo. She knew it as soon as he appeared. She just let him be. Therefore, 001 was very comfortable in Liemo's arms, which obviously pleased him. He couldn't help holding 001's hands tightly, and couldn't help kissing 001's white and beautiful neck. Liemo had long noticed 001's delicate and beautiful neck. Every time he hugged her, it would appear under his nose to tempt him. This time, Liemo finally couldn't help kissing it gently. This made 001 feel a little itchy. She couldn't help but hide, but it made Liemo want a yard after taking an inch with her. Liemo rubbed her intimately and then said with a smile, "Did you miss me?" Liemo found that once he fell in love, he was no different from other boys, and even seemed to be more clingy. Naturally, 001 wouldn't call Liemo for no reason. She couldn't understand the sweetness of love. 001 turned her head from Liemo's arms to look at him. Her usually cold face was completely soft at this time, and her eyes became gentle. Liemo rubbed the tip of 001's nose intimately, and his low and attractive voice sounded in her ear. 001's heart didn't fluctuate at all, which should have made the girl in his arms blush and her heart beat faster. "When I think of you, you appear." 001 took Liemo's hand. Her lowered eyebrows and soft voice all brought out a graceful gentleness that was admirable. This made Liemo's heart palpitate, and the feeling of admiration gushed out like running water. He looked at her. She was in his arms and in front of his eyes, which made his heart itch. However, in the end, Liemo just restrained himself and kissed 001's forehead. He chuckled and said, "Well, you pass." It was true that Liemo missed 001, and he was slightly dissatisfied with her. She didn't seem to be in love at all, which was also true. However, those emotions disappeared in 001's soft words. On the contrary, Liemo was flirted with by 001. Liemo let go of 001 reluctantly, took her hand and looked around her boudoir. This was naturally the first time that Liemo had appeared in a girl's room, and it was his girlfriend, which made Liemo's heart feel a little strange. The decoration here was delicate and soft, just like the person Lin Wanting. In particular, it was full of the fragrance of Lin Wanting, which made him completely occupied and made his heart become moist and soft. Liemo couldn't help holding 001's hand tightly. He suddenly had a desire in his heart. He wanted his smell to fill this room, and he wanted his things to invade the territory of Lin Wanting. In fact, this was just a male's possessiveness. He wanted to mark his own partner. "What did you do at home alone during the holidays?" Liemo turned around and reached out to gently pull the hair on 001's cheek behind her ear. 001 looked up and could see the tender and sweet eyes of the young man, which was very intoxicating. The atmosphere in this room was just right, soft and warm. 001 raised her hand and handed a book to Liemo. "I'm reading this." Liemo took it and raised his eyebrows. "Shakespeare?" This made Liemo's heart ripple and he couldn't help but smile happily. "Are you going to write a love poem for me?" Liemo looked at 001 playfully. Maybe all boys had this kind of bad taste to bully the girl they liked. 001 just wanted to make herself feel more in love. She also wanted to know a little about this, so she read this book under Error's suggestion. "Do you want it?" 001 asked calmly. If Liemo wanted it, she could satisfy him. After all, a good girlfriend should satisfy her boyfriend's requirements. Liemo couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Her voice fell gently on his heart, but it could bring a tickle. "If I say yes, will you write it for me?" 001 nodded without hesitation, which made Liemo couldn't help but chuckle happily. "When I think of my beloved, my heart is filled with boundless wealth. For the sake of my love for you, I will fight against time with all my might." Liemo stared at 001 with his affectionate eyes, and his gentle voice read 2 sentences from Shakespeare's sonnets to her. 001 looked up at him, which made Liemo's heart tremble and turbulent feelings hit him like a wave. However, Liemo's face looked very calm, but his eyes were slightly dark and deep. If thinking of me makes you sad, I'd rather forget in your sweet thoughts. Liemo approached 001 step by step, and he continued to recite the heart-tugging love poem. Liemo's breathing became more and more rapid, and his eyes were locked on 001. He couldn't suppress his desire anymore, which prompted him to move closer to Lin Wanting. Liemo's hand gently stroked 001's arm, along her smooth and delicate skin, until he held her shoulder tightly. The beautiful and graceful girl suddenly rushed out and stood in front of the drunk man on the bar counter. This kind of weakness and the drunkard's strength were about to cause a bloodbath. It was too late for the drunkard to pull back the bottle he raised, and it hit 001 on the head. Glass shards fell from her body, but there was not a trace. It was like an egg hitting a stone. Of course, the egg was the bottle and the stone was 001. 001 blinked her eyes. She was confused as to why this kind of thing could threaten the lives of Earthlings. 001 calmly reached out to remove the broken glass from her head and body, but she was unscathed. The drunkard was shocked awake. How was this possible? His lips trembled and he looked at 001 as if he was looking at a monster. 001 also noticed the abnormality at this time. It turned out that the physical fitness of Earthlings was so different from that of planet Araga. She should have thought of this earlier. At this time, the idea that Earthlings were weak and needed to be taken good care of, or else they would die easily, had been deeply rooted in 001's heart. Error, what if someone finds out? Even if 001 was not smart, it was the most basic thing to do not expose her identity during the mission. Don't worry. I have deleted all their memories. They won't find anything unusual. 001 was relieved and walked toward Liemo. The Araga people did not have a specific face, they only had a huge shape. Therefore, since the mission this time was to replace Lin Wanting, 001 scanned her behavior pattern and appearance. It was not difficult to complete an external copy. Liemo was drunk and unconscious, which was different from what Lin Wanting remembered. But 001 and Era thought it was not a big deal. After all, they saved Liemo's life. Their next task was to send Liemo home. Since Liemo could no longer leave, 001 directly picked up Liemo and walked out of the bar. Chapter 39. Era, don't worry, Tutu, don't worry. I will do as you say, but I will never admit that I like Liemo. That's right. You've become smarter after coming to Earth. That's right. You've become smarter after coming to Earth. This is indeed a good place. Therefore, when he was in class, Liemo felt that the back of his head was about to be on fire. 001 only did what Lin Wanting had done before and kept staring at Liemo. It was obvious that the gaze of a shy and reserved lady staring at her sweetheart was different from the gaze of 001, who wanted to stare at him to death. However, 001 could not feel the difference. Liemo could not ignore 001's gaze. Therefore, he turned to look at 001 and asked calmly, "Student Lin, what's the matter?" "Nothing," 001 said without hesitation. Then she thought for a moment. She had to emphasize one thing. Therefore she quickly said, "I don't like you." Liemo. Liemo looked at 001 with a complicated expression on his face. 001 didn't know that there was such a thing in this world as trying to cover something up made it even more obvious. Liemo had never been a person who paid too much attention to girls. Except for his previous girlfriend, Sun Jiaoyang. This was the only one he knew more about. Although Lin Wanting had been sitting behind him, neither of them were warm and talkative people. They didn't talk much. Liemo's impression of Lin Wanting was that she had a good personality and was a study commissary with good grades. She had a good relationship with her classmates. He often heard others talk about her, but Liemo didn't care. However, looking at Lin Wanting, Liemo suddenly remembered what his mother had said to him this morning. It was a cute and beautiful girl who sent you back last night. But I promised her that I wouldn't say it." "You're so smart. You should be able to understand, right?" Mama Li looked at Liemo and said meaningfully. Liemo was stunned. Why would he think of Lin Wanting? With her personality, how could she possibly go to a bar? Even just now, Liemo felt that he seemed to have sensed that she had different feelings for him, but he did not suspect her. However, it still left a mark in Liemo's heart. Liemo pursed his lips and turned around. On the other hand, 001 and Era heaved a sigh of relief. They even felt that they were very smart. "I have to look at you in a whole new light. You've done really well. It looks like we can complete the mission very well." 001 nodded and said happily, "Yes, it looks easier than I thought." When the class was over, Liemo and his friends were talking about entrepreneurship. 001 was still standing not far away and staring at him. Her eyes could not be ignored. Liemo's friends all patted him on the shoulder jokingly. The meaning was self-evident. 001's situation made them think that Lin Wanting liked Liemo. Liemo frowned. He did not like them to treat their feelings in such a frivolous way. But Liemo knew that they were not malicious, so he did not say much. It was just that Liemo's mind was troubled because of a girl other than Sun Jiaoyang, which was rare. Lin Wanting did not confess to him. He could ignore her and keep a distance from her. But Liemo felt that it was too difficult to ignore Lin Wanting, because her love for him was too obvious. Later, when Liemo went to the toilet, Lin Wanting was still following him. It was really unbearable for Liemo. Why did Liemo know that the person behind him was Lin Wanting without turning around? That was because he had become familiar with her gaze. How scary was that? Liemo was a cold person, although it made his handsome face more charming. He often dressed simply and his black and white were classic. Liemo was indeed a veritable flower on a high mountain. He was far more mature and calm than his peers, except when facing Sun Jiaoyang, he would occasionally have a faint smile like spring flowers blooming. This kind of Liemo was very rational. He would hardly lose his composure for anything, except when Sun Jiaoyang left him. However, at this time, Liemo's face was very bad. He almost showed anger. "What do you want to do?" Liemo almost gnashed his teeth at Lin Wanting. Liemo grabbed Lin Wanting and restrained her against the wall of the corridor. Liemo was very careful not to use too much strength. He would not hurt Lin Wanting and he would not let himself touch her too much. Almost at the moment when Liemo moved, 001 reacted. She instinctively wanted to throw Liemo away. However, at this time, 001 thought of the weak body of an earthling. If she really resisted, it was estimated that Liemo would become a mass of meat sauce. 001 thought that with the attack power of an earthling, it would not cause any harm to her body, so she let it go. Liemo's angry eyes met 001's clear and clean eyes. There was no emotion in them, not even surprise or shyness. On the surface, 001 still looked as gentle and calm as Lin Wanting usually, which was the form that 001 most often simulated. Looking at 001 like this, Liemo's mood calmed down. He realized that he was impulsive. He would not be like this usually. This was not like him usually. It was really Lin Wanting's eyes that made him panic. In the past he would not care about other people's opinions, but Lin Wanting was simply different from others. After hearing Liemo's question, 001 was slightly stunned. This was not what she had expected. But she quickly reacted and replied, "I'm looking at you." Lin Wanting's voice was as soft as ever, and even her face was very gentle, but it made Liemo feel full of powerlessness. However, suddenly Liemo's expression froze. He was close to Lin Wanting, and he could clearly smell the fragrance on her body, which he had just smelled last night. Although Liemo was drunk and unconscious at that time, he could feel that he had fallen into a fragrant embrace. It smelled very good, which made him more relaxed and fall asleep. Even now, Liemo could still remember the faint fragrance that lingered at the tip of his nose. Thus, when his mother said those words, he felt an indescribable strangeness in his heart. At this time, Liemo looked at 001 in surprise and doubt. Was the person who sent him back last night really her? Liemo directly asked 001, "You sent me home last night, didn't you?" 001's eyes widened uncontrollably. How could he know? However, she quickly retorted, "It wasn't me." However, Liemo, who had been paying attention to 001, had already seen her expression just now. He already knew in his heart. Liemo quickly let go of 001. He turned around and did not look at her. He said lightly, "Don't follow me anymore." After all, Lin Wanting had not confessed to him, so Liemo could not refuse her. But he thought that with Lin Wanting's temperament, she will not come to him again in the future if he treats her so coldly. Although 001 really wanted to complete the task since Liemo said so, she would go back. After all, 001 always remembered that she was secretly in love with him. Since Liemo had discovered it, there was no need to continue. 001 turned around and left so simply, which made Liemo a little confused for a while. At this time he actually felt that Lin Wanting was very obedient and a little cute. Handsome Liemo Shui quickly forgot about this thought. However, since Liemo had come over, she could not do this. She could only use the method of the females on Earth. 001 felt that she was really witty. She couldn't help but praise herself in her heart. Liemo, on the other hand, seemed to have been struck by something. His entire body froze on the spot, unable to move. Look, he saw it. Liemo felt as if he had been boiled in a pot of boiling water, his entire body boiling with heat. He stared blankly and his blood rushed to the top of his head. He forgot to move his eyes away. After a long time, Liemo finally reacted. He immediately rushed over and wanted to reach out and pull down his shirt to cover Lin Wanting. This was Liemo's instinctive reaction. Perhaps it was because he was too impatient or panicking, but he had pushed the situation to an even worse state, making his own situation even more difficult. Just looking at it made Liemo's heart beat so fast that it felt like it was about to jump out, and his whole body was about to boil. However, at this moment he was in close contact with it. Liemo felt that his brain had crashed and his heart seemed to have stopped beating. His whole body was about to explode. The abnormal touch finally made 001 raise her head to look at Liemo, but her movement made it more convenient for Liemo. His eyes were blurred and his face was flushed. This was his body's instinctive reaction and he could not help it. However, there was a drop of sweat on Liemo's forehead dripping down along his handsome face, giving this handsome young man a touch of strangely seductive sexiness. Liemo's expression was one of forbearance, which shocked 001. She did not know why he suddenly became like this. 001 did not care about the abnormality of her body. She quickly got up, and Liemo's hand finally moved away. Liemo, what's wrong with you? 001 walked in front of Liemo and asked anxiously. The creatures on Earth were extremely fragile in 001's heart. 001 was worried that if she did not pay attention for a while, Liemo would die. Even though Liemo's current state was no better than death, Liemo didn't care. After today's stimulation, he was like a little virgin who had not even seen an action movie. He was directly hit by a home run. Liemo's reaction became slow. He looked at 001 but his eyes were not focused at all. I'm fine. Liemo looked at 001 like a wandering soul, but it did not look like he was fine at all. 001 could not help but frown. Although she felt a little annoyed, there were too many things on Earth that she needed to take good care of. However, she was also a good general who cared about the weak, so 001 still patiently led Liemo to the sofa to sit down, and went to pour him a glass of water. When 001 left, Liemo lowered his head in a daze. Looking at his hand that had not changed its posture, Liemo lowered his head and sniffed it. It seemed a little sweet. How did it taste? This thought suddenly flashed through his mind, and Liemo's whole body seemed to be struck by lightning. What was he doing just now? What was he thinking just now? He was completely like a pervert. Liemo could not accept himself like this at all. After hearing 001's footsteps, he quickly hid his hand behind him, as if he had a guilty conscience. Liemo's face was serious and he calmly reached out to take the glass of water. However, his hand behind him could not help but gently stroke it. He could not forget the smooth and soft touch which made him reminisce. And Liemo's mouth was really dry, so he drank a big mouthful of water. Liemo, I'm sorry, this dress should have been returned to you, but I forgot to bring pajamas. But I forgot to bring my pajamas with me. I think your pajamas are good, so I put them on. 001's words made Liemo, who had just drunk a big mouthful of water, immediately choke and he coughed very badly. This made 001 immediately stop talking. She quickly got up and sat down next to Liemo, gently stroking his back to soothe his breath. However, 001's action seemed to stimulate Liemo even more, so that he could not avoid it, and his whole body looked more embarrassed. Liemo coughed so much that he could not speak at all, but he waved his hand again and again, wanting 001 to leave. 001 looked at him doubtfully, but she had always been obedient, so she sat a little farther away from Liemo. After the fragrance belonging to 001 was a little farther away from him, Liemo felt that he was able to breathe. Otherwise, the rolling emotions in his heart would drown him. However, when Liemo finally calmed down a little, he looked up and a fire rushed straight to the top of his head. Because of the pull just now, a few buttons on 001's shirt broke, and some of the clothes fell on one side. The water he splashed also splashed on her body. It could be imagined how tempting 001 was to men now, but she didn't feel it at all. Liemo couldn't stand it at a glance, especially when she was so close to him as if he could touch her. When 001 sat down, the length of the shirt was tightly covered, but this made it more attractive, and he wanted to explore it further. Liemo suddenly stood up, which was very abrupt and strange, and 001 looked at him in surprise. However, Liemo couldn't care so much. He felt that if he didn't stay away from Lin Wanting, it would be too dangerous. Liemo turned his back to 001 and didn't look at her. He quickly explained the matter to her. Liemo couldn't help but feel lucky that he had memorized the precautions. Otherwise, he would have been speechless at this moment because his brain was not working at all. After Liemo finished speaking, he quickly fled from 001 as if he was burned by fire. Yes, he fled. He felt that if he didn't leave, something bad would happen. However, 001 was puzzled by this. Liemo was strange. It was really difficult to understand the mind of the Earth's male. As soon as Liemo came back, he shut himself in the bathroom to take a bath. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. However, even if he stood under the shower with cold water, his body and mind were hot, and he couldn't calm down. Liemo turned off the water irritably, wiped his body, put on his clothes and came out. However, although Liemo fell asleep very quickly, there was a torturous little demon in his dream. The impulse of today's day was still there. The pink, tender, tempting, tight and wet feeling had been firmly engraved in Liemo's mind. Chapter 40. Sweet little angels Lilila. But now, faced with this kind of emotional task, 001 was really a novice, so she could only take it one step at a time. Liemo carefully kissed 001's hair. He stared at her as if she was a treasure. To Liemo, the person in his arms was his treasure. He wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. Father Lin and Mother Lin had just accepted Liemo as Lin Wanting's boyfriend, but now he immediately asked to get engaged to their daughter. Lin Fu, Mother Lin. Although they were very happy with Liemo's serious attitude towards their daughter, they still thought that it was too fast. Marriage is not a game. If it weren't for the fact that they weren't of marriageable age, Liemo wanted to get married to 001 directly. Fortunately, 001 didn't know Liemo's real thoughts. She would really be scared to death by him. But in spite of all this, 001 is also confused now. However, Liemo was very determined and his attitude was very sincere. His daughter did not object either. For the time being, there was nothing wrong with Liemo. Father Lin and Mother Lin were worried that they were still young and didn't understand what marriage was. They were also worried that Liemo would change and wouldn't be good for their daughter. However, fortunately it was only an engagement. There was still a buffer period for them to take a closer look at Liemo. If it was really impossible, there was nothing wrong with annulling the engagement. It wouldn't have a big impact on his daughter. In the Lin family, Liemo and Lin Wanting were younger. Since they were still students, the engagement ceremony wasn't grand. The two families just sat together and had a simple meal. Family Lin's parents loved their daughter, and both Liemo and his parents understood that. They understood that the real test would come after the engagement. If they could get married, Family Lin's parents would definitely hold a big party. Anyway, 001 didn't understand any of this at all, and she didn't have any objections. Everything was left to them. There was only one thing that 001 personally participated in, which was to choose an engagement ring with Liemo. Which one do you like? Liemo and 001 intertwined their fingers. He hugged her and leaned against the jewelry counter. He turned his head and asked 001 gently. Liemo used his own money to buy them engagement rings. He and several of his roommates had already started a company. Now that the prototype had just been formed, he still had some money in his hands. 001 looked at the dazzling ring in the counter. She did not have the instinct of the females on the earth. These things looked the same to her. However, 001 had completely replicated the data Lin Wanting had. She knew what her aesthetics should be like. Therefore, 001 pointed to a simple classic ring and said, "This." Liemo asked the saleswoman to take it out for them. Liemo and Lin Wanting were really eye-catching in this store. It was not only because they were a talented man and beautiful woman, but also because they were too young, but both of them were unaware of it. Liemo took it in his hand and gently put 001's middle finger on her. He circled her. This was his mark. This thought made Liemo's heart skip a beat. He couldn't help but bow his head and kiss 001's finger, restraining his surging feelings. "Wan, we will be good for the rest of our lives." When Liemo bowed his head in front of 001, his slender eyelashes fluttered, and a sincere sigh overflowed from his mouth. The word forever made 001's heart skip a beat. The lifespan of the creatures on planet Araga was too long compared to that of humans on the Earth. However, the young man in front of her made a promise to her. 001 didn't know much about human beings, but from Lin Wanting's memory, she also knew what kind of person the young man in front of her was. This made 001's heart suddenly feel a little heavy, and she was a little helpless. 001 had never been confused or wavered when carrying out a task. She was very decisive. However, when it came to unknown areas that she didn't understand, she didn't know what to do. It's beautiful. Liamo put 001's hand in his palm and gently stroked it. He looked at 001 with tenderness in his eyes. Although Liamo had already helped 001 put it on once when he was trying on the ring, when he was really engaged to her and made the engagement in front of the parents of the two families, Liamo's hands couldn't help but tremble. Of course, Liamo's face was still as calm as before, but now one could see the obvious joy in it. Only 001 who was close to him could notice the trembling of his body. 001 didn't understand this kind of emotion in human males, but she instinctively wanted to help him calm down. 001 held Liamo's hand, which made Liamo look at her with amazingly bright eyes, but miraculously he also calmed down. Liamo gazed deeply at 001 and helped her put on the ring just like in the jewelry store before. However, 001 obviously felt that the atmosphere and Liamo's deep feelings were more precious than before. Liamo's thousands of words were hidden in his eyes as he gazed at 001. He didn't say them out loud, but he had already repeated them thousands of times in his heart. When 001 helped Liamo put on the ring, her face was still as gentle as usual. For her, it was really just a ceremony. 001 clearly understood the meaning of this ceremony, but she couldn't feel emotions. However, when 001 put the ring on him, Liamo couldn't help holding his breath. His eyes fell on 001 and stared at her without blinking. His heart couldn't help but tremble for the girl in front of him. The rings they wore on each other's hands were like a rope that tied their hearts together. Such an inseparable relationship made Liamo's heart tremble for a while, but his whole body was filled with joy that couldn't be ignored. After 001 put the ring on his finger, Liamo couldn't restrain himself anymore. He took a step forward, held 001's face and began to kiss her passionately. Liamo's behavior was beyond everyone's expectation. He actually kissed 001 in front of the parents of the two families. 001's eyes widened in disbelief, but Liamo took the opportunity to curl her little tongue and suck it. Father Lin couldn't help getting up and wanting to kill this little bastard who took advantage of his daughter in front of him. It was Mother Lin who held him down and asked him to calm down. After all, Liamo was now his daughter's legitimate fiancé. As the father-in-law he couldn't go too far. However, Mama Li covered her mouth and began to snicker. She and Father Li looked at each other and praised their son in their hearts for doing a good job. Son Jiayang, who was far away abroad, received a phone call at this time. In fact, 001 didn't think so much at all, and she didn't feel anything about all this. She didn't know anything about a young man's budding feelings at all. However, she did feel that Liamo had a strange mood, but Liamo was like this every time he faced her, which made 001 think that the man on the earth was emotional and sensitive. Of course, if he knew about 001's attitude of pampering Liamo, he would probably have the urge to vomit blood due to internal injuries. Since Liamo insisted on doing this, then she wouldn't argue with him and let him be. At worst, if he didn't do it well, she would clean it up herself. Liamo, although 001 didn't say what she thought at all, she didn't need to say it at all. Her mind was clear and all of it was shown in her innocent eyes. It was as if he was a spoiled brat. What was going on? How could this not drive him crazy? Liamo took a deep breath and suppressed the emotions in his heart. He calmly explained the matter to his teacher. Xianghua couldn't deny it at all. She wasn't really that stupid, but she didn't expect that Liamo would stand on 001's side. So what if others saw it? Who would tell the truth under pressure from the Xiang family? At that time, it would be easy for Xianghua to distort the truth. It was obvious that Liamo was very indifferent to Lin Wanting. Who knew that he would protect her at the critical moment? This also let others understand that Liamo was not as ruthless to Lin Wanting as he showed. This matter was easily solved. After that, 001 and Liamo didn't talk anymore. They both listened to the class carefully. However, when the class was over, Liamo waited for her outside for the first time. When Sun Sun saw it, he smiled at 001 ambiguously, made a gesture of encouragement to her, and left quickly. 001 didn't care about it, but when Liamo saw it, his face stiffened without a trace. When 001 came to him, Liamo's face had returned to normal. Are you okay? Liamo looked at Lin Wanting with complicated feelings. He couldn't help it. It was always difficult to express his feelings in words. What Liamo wanted to say to 001 was another thing. However, when Lin Wanting stood in front of him, looking at her beautiful face and petite figure, Liamo realized that no matter what, Lin Wanting was a weak woman who needed to be taken good care of. That was why Li Mo's slightly awkward words of concern came out of his mouth. Li Mo's EQ was not low. Such words would not make him behave like this. However, when this person was Lin Wanting, Liamo couldn't act at ease in front of her. 001 blinked her eyes and smiled at him. "I'm fine. Thank you." 001's smile made Li Mo's eyes flash uncontrollably. It was not brilliant and gorgeous. It was always so soft, but it seeped into Li Mo's heart. He turned his eyes away slightly and didn't put his eyes on 001's face. "Well, don't you have anything to say about the accident in class?" Li Mo's voice was very steady, and there was no change in his expression. However, his hands tightly grasped his trousers. Liamo didn't want to escape anymore. He wanted to face it directly. Although he didn't mean it, Liamo couldn't tolerate taking advantage of a girl like this. Liamo's words caused 001 to widen his eyes in confusion. "Talk. Say what?" 001 really didn't feel that there was anything to say, but Liamo seemed to be very persistent. 001 suddenly came to a realization. She understood that humans needed to be praised. It turned out that Liamo was waiting for her to praise him. Therefore 001 said to Liamo sweetly, "You did a good job. You're great. You're amazing." Because Liamo's mind was full of those charming things at this time, there was no doubt that 001's words made him think the wrong way. Liamo? He couldn't calm down at all, and a wave of heat spread all over his body. A girl said to a boy that he was great. To say that he was great was... Liamo quickly stopped. He felt that he needed to clear his mind recently. Looking at Lin Wanting's clear and clean eyes, Liamo felt that he was dirty. However, when Liamo thought of this, it seemed that every time such a thing happened, it was as if he was in a panic, and Lin Wanting acted as if nothing had happened. In other words, it was always Liamo who was bashful on the side, and 001 was not affected at all. This made Liamo suddenly angry in his heart. He couldn't help but hold 001's hand tightly. "I just took advantage of you. I didn't mean to, but this kind of thing has happened more than once. Why don't you care at all?" Liamo directly said everything and questioned 001. However, 001 looked very surprised by his appearance. She really didn't feel that Liamo was taking advantage of her. This couldn't help but make 001 sigh in her heart. The males on the earth were really too introverted. They were indeed fragile creatures that needed her to be careful. "Because it's you. It doesn't matter anyway." This was the rule that she should abide by when doing tasks. 001 said this to Liamo very sincerely. However, she didn't know how much this sentence had stirred up in Liamo's heart. Chapter 41. Sweet Little Angels Lililila. However, it was never an easy task to marry someone else's daughter. Therefore, Father Li and Mama Li both encouraged and supported Liamo. Father Lin and Mother Lin were not unreasonable people. It was indeed time for their daughter to fall in love when she grew up. They were just worried that she would not know how to protect herself from harm. When Liamo came to the door with a gift, they did not make things difficult for him. "Uncle, Auntie, I'm Wanwan's boyfriend, Liamo." Liamo formally introduced himself to Father Lin and Mother Lin. His every move was elegant and polite. He naturally wanted to leave a good impression on his future father-in-law and mother-in-law. That's right, in Liamo's heart he firmly believed in 001. Father Lin and Mother Lin would not believe a verbal promise. There was no need for them to talk too deeply now. However, when they saw Liamo's sincere attitude and sincere gaze, they could only observe him in secret, allowing them to observe him from all sides. Liamo was well aware of this. He wanted to use his actions to prove himself to Lin Wanting's parents. Lin Wanting's parents allowed Liamo to go upstairs to see her. At this time, 001 was in his bedroom. Liamo gently opened the door. He quietly walked in and hugged her from behind. "You heartless little girl, didn't you know to call me?" Liamo's hands were tightly wrapped around 001's waist. However, his face could not help but be buried deep in her neck and gently rubbed against it. He took a deep breath of the fragrance that belonged to her. Liamo did not expect that falling in love would make him like this. However, the person who was worried and tossing and turning was indeed him. The person who caused him to be like this was the girl in his arms. 001 was not frightened by Liamo. He knew at the moment he appeared. He just let him be. Therefore, 001 was very comfortable in Liamo's arms, which obviously pleased him. He couldn't help but tighten his grip on 001, and he couldn't help but plant a kiss on 001's fair and beautiful neck. Liamo had long noticed 001's delicate and beautiful neck. Every time he hugged her, it would appear under his nose to seduce him. This time, Liamo finally couldn't hold back and gently kissed it. This made 001 feel a little itchy. She couldn't help but hide, but it made Liamo laugh with her and want a foot after taking an inch. Liamo rubbed against her intimately and smiled. "Did you miss me?" Liamo found that once he fell in love, he was no different from other boys. In fact, he seemed to be even more clingy. Of course, 001 wouldn't call Liamo for no reason. She couldn't understand the sweetness of love. 001 turned her head from Liamo's arms and looked at him. Her face, which was usually cold, was completely soft at this time, and her eyes became gentle. Liamo rubbed the tip of 001's nose intimately, and his low and attractive voice sounded in her ear. 001's heart didn't fluctuate at all, which should have made the girl in his arms blush and her heart beat faster. "When I think of you, you appear." 001 took Liamo's hand. Her lowered eyebrows and soft voice all brought out a graceful gentleness that was admirable. This made Liamo's heart palpitate, and the feeling of admiration poured out like running water. He looked at her. She was in his arms and in front of his eyes, which made his heart itch. However, in the end, Liamo just restrained himself and kissed 001's forehead. He chuckled and said, "Well, you pass." It was true that Liamo missed 001, and he was slightly dissatisfied with her. She didn't seem to be in love at all, which was also true. However, those emotions disappeared in 001's soft words. On the contrary, Liamo was flirted with by 001. Liamo let go of 001 reluctantly, took her hand and looked around her boudoir. This was the first time that Liamo had appeared in a girl's room, and it was his girlfriend, which made Liamo's heart feel a little strange. The decoration here was delicate and soft, just like the person Lin wanting. In particular, it was full of the fragrance of Lin wanting, which made him completely occupied, and made his heart become moist and soft. Liamo couldn't help holding 001's hand tightly. He suddenly had a desire in his heart. He wanted his smell to fill this room, and he wanted his things to invade Lin wanting's territory. In fact, it was just a male's possessiveness. He wanted to mark his mark on his partner. "What did you do at home alone during the holidays?" Liamo turned around, reached out and gently tucked the hair on 001's cheek behind her ear. 001 looked up and could see the young man's tender and sweet eyes, which was very intoxicating. The atmosphere in this room was just right, soft and warm. 001 raised his hand and handed a book to Liamo. "I'm reading this." Liamo took it and raised his eyebrows. "Shakespeare?" This made Liamo's heart ripple and he couldn't help but smile happily. "Are you going to write a love poem for me?" Liamo looked at 001 playfully. Maybe all boys had this kind of bad taste to bully the girl they liked. 001 just wanted to make herself feel more in love. She also wanted to know a little about this, so she read this book at Error's suggestion. "Do you want it?" 001 asked calmly. If Liamo wanted it, she could satisfy him. After all, a good girlfriend should satisfy her boyfriend's requirements. Liamo couldn't help but be slightly stunned. The voice fell gently on people's heart, but it could bring a tickle. "If I say yes, will you write it for me?" 001 nodded without hesitation, which made Liamo couldn't help but chuckle happily. "When I think of my beloved, my heart is filled with boundless wealth. For the sake of my love for you, I will fight against time with all my might." Liamo stared at 001 with his affectionate eyes, and his gentle voice read 2 sentences from Shakespeare's sonnets to her. 001 looked up at him, which made Liamo's heart tremble, and the turbulent feelings hit like waves. However, Liamo's face looked very calm, but his eyes were slightly dark and deep. "If thinking of me makes you sad, I would rather forget in your sweet thoughts." Liamo approached 001 step by step, and his mouth continued to recite the heart-stirring love poem. Liamo's breathing became more and more rapid, and his eyes were locked on 001. He couldn't suppress his desire, which prompted him to get closer to Lin wanting. Liamo's hand gently stroked 001's arm, along her smooth and delicate skin, until he held her shoulder tightly. It was because the impact was too great that he tried to cover it up. However, Liamo clearly knew that he was avoiding a certain feeling, but 001's behavior made him unable to ignore it. Liamo consciously avoided 001, but he couldn't help but pay attention to her. Why didn't she look at him now? Was she angry? Or, thinking of the speculation that made his heart sink, Liamo didn't even dare to think about it. Or did she not like him anymore? Wasn't this what he wanted her to be like from the beginning? But why did he feel so difficult to accept now? Originally, Liamo was relieved that 001 didn't frequently pay attention to him and disturb his heart lake. At this time his mood was completely depressed. In fact, 001 felt that she had performed her recent task very well. She had done all the things that were mentioned in the Secret Love Handbook. She didn't have to stare at him so urgently anymore. Moreover, she heard that it was very comfortable to soak in hot springs on Earth, which made 001 very curious and eager to try it. After arriving at the hotel, she made an appointment with other female classmates. It was better to listen to more experienced women on Earth about this kind of thing. Therefore, 001 didn't have so much time to stare at Liamo at this time. On the contrary, Liamo frequently looked at 001. She seemed to be very interested in something, and had been listening attentively with her head tilted. Moreover, the way Lin Wanting smiled, Liamo wanted to say a long time ago that it was too much like a young and elegant flower blooming alone. However, the difference now was that this little flower quietly bloomed in his heart. Liamo pursed his lips and looked at Lin Wanting's smile. He felt itchy in his heart and wanted to do something. His hands unconsciously clenched. However, until 001 entered the hot spring with her classmates, Liamo didn't find a chance to talk to her. 001 and her classmates were separated, but they were very close to each other and could talk through a curtain. It was said that this was the characteristic design of this hotel, but in fact, it was specially prepared by Xianghua for 001. If she didn't separate them, how could she deal with her? Xianghua asked someone to put a snake in 001's hot spring. It was not poisonous. Of course, she was not so crazy to want to kill people. Xianghua just wanted 001 to make a fool of herself. Running out of the hot spring in such a mess would be seen by other students, including boys and girls. Especially in front of Liamo, she really lost a lot of face. However, Xianghua didn't expect that after 001 saw a snake soaking in the hot spring, she didn't panic at all, let alone run out and shout. 001 calmly picked up the snake and held it in front of her eyes to observe it carefully. It was still alive. The snake hissed and stuck out its tongue as if it was showing off to 001. However, in fact, animals have a more sensitive instinct than humans. It sensed that 001 was a very dangerous existence for it. It was just afraid and wanted to escape. But 001 held the snake's body tightly and looked at its green eyes. Error, is this a snake on the earth? Yes, it's a reptile. It's non-venomous. 001 nodded its little head with interest. Except for human beings, it was the first time that she had been so close to other creatures on the earth. 001 was having a good time playing with the snake, but Xianghua, who was waiting outside, was anxious. Why hasn't there been any reaction for so long? What's going on inside? Xianghua gritted her teeth. She couldn't wait any longer, so she decided to go in and see the situation in person. However, 001 was not scared, but she was so scared that she screamed. 001 was also scared by her voice. Her hand shook and the snake flew out of her hand. And, coincidentally, the snake fell on Xianghua's body. This scared Xianghua out of her wits. Her voice almost pierced through the sky. At this time, 001 suddenly rushed out of the water, bringing with it a splash of water. She grabbed a towel from the side and wrapped it around herself, then ran towards Xianghua. 001 knew that the fragile little females on the earth were afraid of these things, and it was said that males were generally stronger than females. However, when 001 thought of the delicate Liamo, she suddenly felt that the females on earth were really too weak to scare her. She needed to redouble her care. Therefore, 001 put one hand around Xianghua's waist and held her in his arms, and quickly took the snake from her with the other hand. Well, it's all right. Don't be afraid. 001 comforted Xianghua in a soft voice unique to Lin Wanting. It was very comfortable to listen to. Even Xianghua couldn't help sobbing and gradually calmed down under her comfort. 001 reached out and gently wiped away Xianghua's tears. Well, don't cry. It's time to put on your delicate makeup. 001's words made Xianghua pause. Only then did she realize that she had been nestled in the arms of her enemy. This made her face turn red. She pushed 001 away vigorously and got out of her arms. Who told you to say that? Xianghua said angrily. But she didn't know why her eyes flickered, and she didn't dare to look at 001. In the end, Xianghua secretly glared at 001 and ran away. This made 001 confused. It seemed that the minds of girls on the earth were also difficult to understand. Xianghua made such a big noise before, which alarmed a lot of people. When Liemo heard that it was Lin Wanting's hot spring that had an accident, he rushed out in a hurry. Ah, there's a thief. They didn't expect that someone would take advantage of the chaos to steal things. The girl screamed. Hearing this, 001 quickly ran out, but she didn't expect to run into Liemo head-on. 001 was so focused on catching the thief that he didn't notice anything, but Liemo was so angry that he was about to spit fire. 001 wanted to run past Li Missouri. She didn't want to stay at all. However, when she passed by Liemo suddenly reached out and grabbed her tightly. Not only that, but it was different from usual. Liemo directly hid 001 in his arms. This surprised 001, so she paused for a moment and was firmly held in his arms by Liemo. However, what greeted 001 was Liemo's exasperated reprimand, which surrounded her like a blanket. Lin Wanting, what are you thinking about? Why did you run out dressed like this? However, the culprit who made Liemo upset and unable to sleep was Lin Wanting, who didn't notice anything. Liemo frowned. He didn't know why he would want a woman other than Sun Jiaoyang. Could it be that he was such a fickle man? It hadn't been long since Sun Jiaoyang left him, and he had already begun to pay attention to other women? However, Lin Wanting's every move made him feel helpless, and there was an indescribable feeling in his heart. Liemo really couldn't help but care about it. These things made Liemo upset. He sat down by the pool and threw stones in it. Recent things flashed before his eyes like a mess, which made Liemo's mood worse and worse. Liemo simply took off his clothes and put them aside. He plunged into the water, trying to calm himself down. The most terrible thing was to lose one's rationality and calmness, and things would get worse and worse. Just at this time, 001 arrived. Hearing the sound of water, she sped up and shouted, "Liemo!" Liemo jumped out of the water instinctively, and the water splashed everywhere. He happened to meet 001's eyes on the shore. There was a dead silence. Liemo was completely stunned. He didn't know how to react at all. 001 breathed a sigh of relief. Liemo was still alive. The night wind blew, making Liemo's body involuntarily shrink, which woke him up. Liemo suddenly realized what kind of state he was in. He was naked in the water, and Lin Wanting saw everything on the shore. Liemo's body was completely stiff, and so was his face. He didn't know how to react at all. Chapter 42. Sweet little angels, Lilila, her voice and her expression. It was as cold as the machine from before. Completely emotionless. However, when she saw the contents clearly, his expressionless face showed a rare look of shock. Her voice, which had been firm and decisive in giving orders during the battle, actually became uncertain at this time. Reward 001. A journey of the 7 emotions and 6 desires on earth. What does that mean? 001 asked in confusion. However, the voice of the machine remained monotonous. I do not know. This is the marshal's order. After saying that, after all, it had done what the marshal had instructed it to do. Don't you understand? The one who spoke was General 001's companion heir. The people of planet Araga, everyone was born with a companion artifact that would accompany them for the rest of their lives. He nodded. His eyes were filled with confusion. Your combat ability is already the strongest in Araga. But the opposite was wisdom. The intelligence of the Aragas is not even 1/10 of that of the Earthlings. The Marshal hopes that you will study hard on Earth. Moreover, a qualified strongest warrior is not a killing machine. He wants you to have feelings. Earthlings are the most emotional creatures. 001 is the most outstanding soldier. She would always do her best to complete the missions given to her by the Marshal. This time was no exception. Although 001 thought that this was the weirdest and most confusing task she had ever received, all she had to do in the past was to annihilate the demons that invaded Araga. The Aragas were all brawn and no brains. They could not be compared to the cunning Earthlings. However, 001 in the end, she still accepted it solemnly, just like she always did when she shouldered a mission. 001 landed on Earth with her companion, the Error. She knew nothing about Earth. Quickly go invisible. The companion Error shouted at the moment 001 was about to land on her. 001 trusted its judgment, so she immediately opened a protective shield to protect herself, and at the same time, made it so that no one could see her. After 001 stood firm, she suddenly felt embarrassed, although she didn't know this emotion. She was glad that she had listened to error. Otherwise she was afraid that she would cause panic among the people on Earth. Because in the eyes of 001, the people on Earth were too small, not even the size of her finger. 001 looked down and saw a group of small insects crawling under her feet. The Araga's body size is too different from Earthlings. You have to shrink. 001 also realized that she couldn't live on Earth with her original body. However, this ratio seemed to be 1 in 1,000, and the strength of 001 would also decrease with the size of the body. But error, if I become so weak on Earth, won't it be dangerous? Earthlings have developed brains, but their bodies are very weak. 1,000th of your strength is enough to deal with them. Hearing Error's words, 001 was relieved. When she became the same size as an Earthling, she removed the protective shield and looked at the planet with a curious gaze. Don't worry. I have already collected all the information on Earth. I can show it to you slowly. Now, figure out the mission requirements. As soon as they arrived on Earth, Error automatically received the information. This should be set up by the Marshal. Many worlds on this planet have problems and we need to maintain and repair them. During this process, it will be a good time for you to experience the 7 emotions and 6 desires. 001? The companion Error said this, but with 001's brain she couldn't understand it at all. Then, let's take the world we arrived in today as an example. You will understand. Lin Wanting has had a crush on Liemo since high school, the handsome young man in the white shirt sitting in front of her. His wise and clear eyes fell on the blackboard, listening attentively to the lesson, his cold and serious eyes solving problems, his slender white fingers on the desk holding an exercise book. All of these made Lin Wanting deeply fascinated with him. Lin Wanting came from a family of scholars. Her mother worked in the Education Bureau, and her father was a calligrapher. She had a strong scholarly aura since she was a child. She was also gentle and introverted, and her appearance was beautiful and graceful. How could a girl like her easily express her feelings, not to mention at such an important moment in high school? She could only silently watch the boy sitting in front of her every day, carefully guarding this happiness. However, this balance was soon broken by a transfer student, Sun Jiaoyang. She was a passionate and lively young lady from a rich family, and her appearance was also beautiful. From the first day she transferred, she fell in love with Liemo and confessed to him in front of the whole class, saying that she would definitely pursue him. At the time, Sun Jiaoyang's actions were extremely rebellious and bold. She was almost labeled as a bad student and a bad girl. However, Sun Jiaoyang's father was the CEO of the biggest group in the area. Since Sun Jiaoyang lost her mother when she was young, he spoiled her very much. He would not give her anything she wanted. He did not care about such a small thing, and even praised his daughter for having character and courage. Moreover, after CEO Sun Jiaoyang transferred, he became the biggest sponsor of the high school. The school could only turn a blind eye to Sun Jiaoyang's actions. From then on, Sun Jiaoyang became Liemo's desk mate, and she started to pester and pursue him every day. In the beginning, Liemo did not react to Sun Jiaoyang's confession, which made Lin Wanting feel slightly at ease. However, at the same time she envied and admired Sun Jiaoyang for being able to be so bold and not care about what others thought of her. She could not do that, and this made her heart sour. Moreover, as Sun Jiaoyang pursued Liemo step by step, it made Lin Wanting even more nervous. This was because Liemo had treated Sun Jiaoyang as nothing in the beginning, but later on he no longer rejected her. In fact, he even accepted her and tolerated her. Lin Wanting had been secretly watching Liemo for so long, and she knew his reaction like the back of her hand, which made her even more shocked. But other than feeling bitter and crying behind her back, there was nothing she could do. She could only bury her feelings in the bottom of her heart. Sun Jiaoyang was like a small sun that crashed into Liemo, not afraid of his coldness and disregard. With such a sincere heart placed in front of him, and she was pursuing him so passionately, it was normal for Liemo to be moved. Sun Jiaoyang's results were not good, but she was talented. She was outstanding in singing, dancing and playing the piano. Liemo was the class representative, Lin Wanting was the study representative, and Sun Jiaoyang was the recreational representative. In order to pursue Liemo, Sun Jiaoyang tried her best to get close to him. Because his results were always the top in the class, she found excuses to get him to tutor her. In fact, Sun Jiaoyang hated studying the most, but because of Liemo, her results kept improving. In the end, Sun Jiaoyang and Liemo dated, and they became a couple that everyone in the class admired. Girls knew girls best. Sun Jiaoyang could see Lin Wanting's feelings for Li Mo, so she had been rejecting her. Ever since Li Mo and Sun Jiaoyang dated, Lin Wanting was very disappointed and sad. But since it had become a reality, Lin Wanting learned to let it go, and hid her feelings even more tightly. However, after they graduated from high school, Li Mo broke up with Sun Jiaoyang. This relationship was initiated by Sun Jiaoyang, and she was the one who pursued Li Mo. She felt that she had sacrificed more in this relationship. Sun Jiaoyang was originally a pampered young lady. If she didn't really like Li Mo, how could she put down her pride in front of him? Before she pursued Li Mo, Sun Jiaoyang only wanted him to accept her. But after dating Li Mo and becoming his girlfriend, Sun Jiaoyang wasn't satisfied. She desired more. She felt that Li Mo wasn't warm enough to her, not as much as she liked him. Moreover, Sun Jiaoyang had a childhood sweetheart, Qian Tian, who was deeply in love with her. He was also secretly sowing discord between them. Sun Jiaoyang was sad and disappointed with Li Mo, so she sent him a message to say goodbye and went abroad to study with Qian Tian. Li Mo suffered a great blow because of Sun Jiaoyang. He became more indifferent and unpredictable than before. Lin Wanting and Li Mo went to the same university. Her heart, which had died after Li Mo and Sun Jiaoyang dated, was revived again after they broke up. However, it was never easy to marry someone else's daughter. Therefore, Li Mo's father and Mama Li encouraged and supported Li Mo. Father Lin and Mother Lin weren't unreasonable people. It was indeed time for their daughter to fall in love when she grew up. They were just worried that she wouldn't know how to protect herself and would be hurt. When Li Mo came to their door with a gift, they didn't embarrass him. "Uncle, Aunt, I'm Wan's boyfriend, Li Mo." Li Mo formally introduced himself to Father Lin and Mother Lin. His every move was elegant and polite. He naturally wanted to leave a good impression on his future parents-in-law. Yes, in Li Mo's heart he believed that 001 was so. Father Lin and Mother Lin wouldn't believe a verbal promise. Now they didn't need to talk too much with each other. However, when they saw Li Mo's sincere attitude and sincere gaze, they could only observe him in secret, allowing them to observe him from all sides. Li Mo was well aware of this. He wanted to prove himself to Lin Wanting's parents with his own practical actions. Lin Wanting's parents allowed Li Mo to go upstairs to see her. At this time, 001 was in her bedroom. Li Mo gently opened the door, walked in quietly and hugged her from behind. "You little heartless girl, didn't you know to call me?" Li Mo's hands were tightly wrapped around 001's waist, but he couldn't help burying his face deep into her neck, rubbing it gently and taking a deep breath of her fragrance. Li Mo didn't expect that falling in love would make him like this. However, it was indeed him who was worried and tossing and turning, and it was the girl in his arms who caused him to be like this. 001 was not frightened by Li Mo. She knew it as soon as he appeared. She just let him be. Therefore, 001 was very comfortable in Li Mo's arms, which obviously pleased him. He couldn't help holding 001's hand tightly, and he couldn't help kissing 001's white and beautiful neck. Li Mo had long noticed 001's delicate and beautiful neck. Every time he hugged her, it would appear under his nose to tempt him. This time, Li Mo finally couldn't help kissing it gently. This made 001 feel a little itchy. She couldn't help but hide, but Li Mo laughed with her and wanted a yard after taking an inch. Li Mo rubbed her intimately and said with a smile, "Did you miss me?" Li Mo found that once he fell in love, he was no different from other boys and even more clingy. Naturally, 001 wouldn't call Li Mo for no reason. She couldn't care less about the sweetness of love. 001 turned her head from Li Mo's arms and looked at him. Her face, which was usually cold, was completely soft at this time, and her eyes became gentle. Li Mo rubbed the tip of 001's nose intimately, and his low and attractive voice sounded in her ear. 001's heart didn't fluctuate at all, which should have made the girl in his arms blush and her heart beat faster. "You appeared when I thought of you." 001 took Li Mo's hand. Her lowered eyebrows and soft voice all brought out a graceful gentleness that was admirable. This made Li Mo's heart palpitate, and the feeling of admiration gushed out like water. He looked at her. She was in his arms and in front of his eyes, which made his heart itch. However, in the end, Li Mo just restrained himself and kissed 001's forehead. He chuckled and said, "Well, you pass." It was true that Li Mo missed 001, and he was slightly dissatisfied with her. She didn't seem to be in love at all, which was also true. However, Those emotions disappeared in 001's soft words. On the contrary, Liemo was flirted with by 001. Liemo let go of 001 reluctantly, took her hand and looked around her boudoir. This was the first time that Liemo had appeared in a girl's room, and it was his girlfriend, which made Liemo's heart feel a little strange. The decoration here was delicate and soft, just like the person Lin wanting. In particular, it was full of the fragrance of Lin wanting, which made him completely occupied, and made his heart become moist and soft. Liemo couldn't help holding 001's hand tightly. He suddenly had a desire in his heart. He wanted his smell to fill this room, and he wanted his things to invade Lin wanting's territory. In fact, this was just a male's possessiveness. He wanted to mark his own partner. What did you do at home alone during the holidays? Liemo turned around and reached out to gently pull the hair on 001's cheek behind her ear. 001 looked up and could see the tender and sweet eyes of the young man, which was very intoxicating. Chapter 43. The cute little angels were all very open-minded, the Li family's parents were very open-minded, Lin wanting was also very good, and they were happy to see it happen. However, if he wanted to marry someone else's daughter. It was never that simple, therefore Father Li and Mama Li both gave Liemo encouragement and support. Father Lin and Mother Lin were not unreasonable people, their daughter had grown up, and it was indeed time for her to fall in love. They were just worried that she would not know how to protect herself and get hurt. When Liemo came to the door with a gift, they did not make things difficult for him. Uncle, Auntie, I'm Wan's boyfriend, Liemo. Liemo formally introduced himself to Father Lin and Mother Lin. His every move was elegant and polite. He naturally wanted to leave a good impression on his future father-in-law and mother-in-law. That's right, in Liemo's heart he firmly believed in 001. Father Lin and Mother Lin would not believe a verbal promise. Now there was no need for them to talk too deeply. However, seeing that Liemo's attitude was sincere and his eyes were sincere, they could only observe in the dark and let them watch everywhere. Liemo was well aware of this. He wanted to use his own actions to prove himself to Lin wanting's parents. Lin wanting's parents allowed Liemo to go upstairs to see her. At this time, 001 was in his bedroom. Liemo gently opened the door and quietly walked in. He hugged her from behind. You little heartless. Don't you know how to call me? Liemo's hands were tightly wrapped around 001's waist, however, his face could not help but be deeply buried in her neck. He gently rubbed against it and took a deep breath of the fragrance that belonged to her. Liemo didn't expect that falling in love would make him become like this. However, the person who was troubled and tossing and turning was indeed him. The one who caused him to become like this was the girl in his arms. 001 was not scared by Liemo. He knew that Liemo was here as soon as he appeared. Therefore, 001 was very comfortable in Liemo's arms, which obviously pleased him. He couldn't help but tighten his grip on 001, and he couldn't help but plant a kiss on 001's fair and beautiful neck. Liemo had long noticed 001's delicate and beautiful neck. Every time he hugged her, it would appear under his nose to seduce him. This time, Liemo finally couldn't hold back and gently kissed it. This made 001 feel a little itchy. She couldn't help but hide, but it made Liemo laugh with her and want a foot after taking an inch. Liemo rubbed against her intimately and smiled. Did you miss me? Liemo found that once he fell in love, he was no different from other boys. In fact, he seemed to be more clingy. Of course, 001 wouldn't call Liemo for no reason. She couldn't understand the sweetness of love. 001 turned her head from Liemo's arms to look at him. Her usually cold face was completely soft at this time, and her eyes became gentle. Liemo intimately rubbed the tip of 001's nose, and his low and seductive voice sounded in her ear. 001's heart didn't fluctuate at all, which should have made the girl in his arms blush and her heart beat faster. When I think of you, you appear. 001 took Liemo's hand. Her lowered eyebrows and soft voice all brought out a graceful gentleness that was admirable. This made Liemo's heart palpitate, and the feeling of admiration poured out like running water. He looked at her. She was in his arms and in front of his eyes, which made his heart itch. However, in the end, Liemo just restrained himself and kissed 001's forehead. He chuckled and said, "Well, you pass." It was true that Liemo missed 001, and he was slightly dissatisfied with her. She didn't seem to be in love at all, which was also true. However, those emotions disappeared in 001's soft words. On the contrary, Liemo was seduced by 001. Liemo let go of 001 reluctantly, took her hand and looked around her boudoir. This was the first time that Liemo had appeared in a girl's room, and it was his girlfriend, which made Liemo's heart feel a little strange. The decoration here was delicate and soft, just like the person Lin wanting. In particular, it was full of the fragrance of Lin wanting, which made him completely occupied and made his heart become moist and soft. Liemo couldn't help holding 001's hand tightly. He suddenly had a desire in his heart. He wanted his smell to fill this room, and he wanted his things to invade the territory of Lin wanting. In fact, this was just a male's possessiveness. He wanted to mark his own partner. What did you do at home alone during the holidays? Liemo turned around and reached out to gently pull the hair on 001's cheek behind her ear. 001 looked up and could see the young man's tender and sweet eyes, which was very intoxicating. The atmosphere in the room was just right, soft and warm. 001 raised his hand and handed a book to Liemo. "I'm reading this." Liemo took it and raised his eyebrows. "Shakespeare?" This made Liemo's heart ripple and he couldn't help but smile happily. "Are you going to write a love poem for me?" Liemo looked at 001 playfully. Perhaps all boys had this kind of bad taste to bully the girl they liked. 001 just wanted to make herself feel more in love. She also wanted to know a little about this, so she read this book under Error's suggestion. "Do you want it?" 001 asked calmly. If Liemo wanted it, she could satisfy him. After all, a good girlfriend should satisfy her boyfriend's requirements. Liemo couldn't help but be slightly startled. The voice fell gently on his heart, but it could bring a tickle. "If I say yes, will you write it for me?" 001 nodded without hesitation, which made Liemo couldn't help but chuckle happily. "When I think of my beloved, my heart is filled with boundless wealth. For the sake of my love for you, I will fight against time with all my might." Liemo stared at 001 with his affectionate eyes, and he read 2 sentences from Shakespeare's sonnets to her in a gentle voice. 001 looked up at him, which made Liemo's heart tremble and turbulent feelings hit him like a wave. However, Liemo's face looked very calm, but his eyes were slightly dark and deep. "If thinking of me makes you sad, I'd rather forget and be in your sweet thoughts." Liemo approached 001 step by step, and he continued to recite the heart-stirring love poem. Liemo's breathing became more and more rapid, and his eyes were locked on 001. He couldn't suppress his desire, which made him approach Lin wanting uncontrollably. Liemo's hand gently stroked 001's arm, along her smooth and delicate skin, until he held her shoulder tightly. After reading it out, Error asked, Do you remember all of it?" 001's face was solemn and she nodded seriously. She didn't expect there to be so much knowledge about this kind of thing on Earth. "And you have to remember, Ms. Lin has a crush on Liemo, so we must not let others know that she likes him." "Error, don't worry, I understand. I will do as you say, but I will never admit that I like Liemo. Yes, you've become smarter after coming to Earth. It's really a good place." Therefore, when Liemo was in the cram school, he felt that the back of his head was about to be on fire. 001 just did what Lin wanting had done before, and kept staring at Liemo obviously. The way a shy and introverted lady looked at her sweetheart was different from the way 001 stared at her. However, 001 couldn't feel the difference. Liemo couldn't ignore 001's gaze, so he turned to look at 001 and asked lightly, "Classmate Lin, what's the matter?" "Nothing," 001 said without hesitation. Then she thought that she had to emphasize one thing, so she quickly said, "I don't like you." Liemo was speechless. Liemo looked at 001's eyes, and his expression became complicated. 001 didn't know that there was such a thing in this world as trying to cover up. Liemo had never been a person who paid too much attention to girls. Except for his former girlfriend, Sun Jiaoyang, this was the only one he knew more about. Although Lin wanting had been sitting behind him, neither of them was a warm and talkative person, so they didn't talk much. Liemo's impression of Lin wanting was that she had a good character and good grades. She had a good relationship with her classmates. He often heard others talking about her, but Liemo didn't care. Looking at Lin wanting like this, Liemo suddenly remembered what his mother said to him this morning. "Emo, a lovely and beautiful girl sent you back last night, but I promised her that I wouldn't say it. You are so smart, you should understand, right?" Mama Li looked at Liemo and said meaningfully. Liemo couldn't help but be stunned. How could he think of Lin wanting? Based on her personality, how could she possibly go to a bar? Even just now, Liemo felt that he seemed to be aware of her different feelings for him, but he didn't doubt her. However, this left a mark in Liemo's heart. Liemo pursed his lips and turned around. On the other hand, 001 and 22 heaved a sigh of relief. They even felt that they were very smart. I have to look at you with new eyes. You did a good job. It seems that we can complete the task well. 001 nodded and said happily, yes, it looks easier than I thought. When the class was over, Liemo and several of his friends were talking about entrepreneurship. 001 still stood not far away and stared straight at him. Her eyes couldn't be ignored. Liemo's friends all patted him on the shoulder jokingly. The meaning was self-evident. 001's situation made them think that Lin Wanting liked Liemo. Liemo frowned. He didn't like them to treat their feelings in such a frivolous way. But Liemo knew that they didn't mean any harm, so he didn't say much. But Liemo's mind was troubled because of a girl other than Sun Jiaoyang, which was rare. Lin Wanting didn't confess to him, so he could ignore her and keep a distance from her. But Liemo felt that it was too difficult to ignore Lin Wanting, because her love for him was too obvious. Later, when Liemo went to the toilet, Lin Wanting was still behind him, which really made Liemo unable to bear it. Why did Liemo know that the person behind him was Lin Wanting without turning around? That was because he had become familiar with her gaze. How scary was that? Liemo was a cold person, although it made his handsome face more charming. He often dressed simply, and his black and white was a classic combination. Liemo was indeed a veritable flower on a high mountain. He was far more mature and calm than his peers, except when he faced Sun Jiaoyang occasionally with a faint smile like the blooming flowers in spring. This kind of Liemo was very rational. He almost never lost his composure for anything, except when Sun Jiaoyang left him. However, at this time, Liemo's face was very bad, almost showing anger. What on earth do you want to do? Liemo almost said to Lin Wanting through gritted teeth. Liemo grabbed Lin Wanting and restrained her against the wall of the corridor. Liemo was very careful not to use too much strength, not to hurt Lin Wanting, and not to let himself touch her too much. Almost at the moment when Liemo moved, 001 reacted. She instinctively wanted to throw Liemo away. However, at this time, 001 thought of the weak body of an earthling. If she really resisted, it was estimated that Liemo would become a mass of meat sauce. 001 thought that with the attack power of an earthling, it would not cause any harm to her body, so she let it go. Liemo's angry eyes met 001's clear and clean eyes. There was no emotion in them, not even surprise or shyness. On the surface, 001 still looked as gentle and calm as Lin Wanting usually, which was the form that 001 most often imitated. Looking at 001 like this, Liemo's mood calmed down, and he realized that he was impulsive. He would not usually be like this. This was not like his usual self. It was really Lin Wanting's eyes that made him panic. In the past he would not care about other people's opinions, but Lin Wanting was simply different from others. After hearing Liemo's question, 001 was slightly stunned. This was not what she had expected. But she quickly reacted and replied, "I'm looking at you." Lin Wanting's voice was as soft as ever, and even her face was very gentle, but it made Liemo feel helpless. However, suddenly Liemo's expression froze. He was close to Lin Wanting, and he could clearly smell the fragrance on her body, which he had just smelled last night. Although Liemo was drunk and unconscious at that time, he could feel that he had fallen into a fragrant embrace. It smelled very good, which made him more relaxed and fall asleep. Even now, Liemo could still remember the faint fragrance that lingered at the tip of his nose. Thus, when his mother said those words, he felt an indescribable strangeness in his heart. At this time, Liemo looked at 001 in surprise and doubt. Was the person who sent him back last night really her? Liemo directly asked 001, "You sent me home last night, didn't you?" 001's eyes widened uncontrollably. How could he know that? However, she quickly retorted, "It wasn't me." However, Liemo, who had been paying attention to 001, had already seen her expression just now. He already knew in his heart. Liemo quickly let go of 001. He turned away from her and said lightly, "Don't follow me anymore." After all, Lin Wanting had not confessed to him, so Liemo could not refuse her. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.